career goals. Again, academics must be used to support the student's career choice, and all students should undergo career exploration in elementary and middle schools. High school should be about beginning to walk down one or more career pathways, interning, observing, working, and shadowing mentors. All students should be participating in these activities. It is proven across the country that those who begin their career pathway early have the highest career satisfaction compared to those who stumble on a career after college or pick up pathway in the last 2 years of college. We are facing a significant problem. We are losing our CTE instructors, and those positions are not being readily filled due to a teacher shortage, especially in CTE, where former instructors can double their teacher salary in private industry. Since 2002, CTE programs have been reduced by 50%. In 2002, every junior high school had 6 to 7 pre-CTE programs. Currently, it is down to 3 pre-CTE programs if we're lucky. We have lost the following programs in both districts at one or more schools: boat building, architectural drafting, construction technology, carpentry, cabinet making, electronics, electricity, graphic design, industrial technology, automotive mechanics, diesel mechanics, plumbing, child care, elder care, certified nursing assistant, certified medical assistant, barbering, licensed practical nursing, agriculture, advanced computer programming, pre-engineering, marketing, and entrepreneurship. According to the Association for Career and Technical Education, over 90% of high school graduates who earn 2 to 3 CTE credits enroll in college, and 80% of high school graduates who earn 3 or more CTE credits in a single program area enrolled in college. Additionally, CTE concentrators are more likely to graduate high school on time than non-concentrators, 95% versus 85%. To address these challenges, we must explore other means of providing instruction to our students, including bringing in journeymen, sharing instructional time through technology, and partnering with businesses to offer internships for high school students. This significant shift in our teaching strategy will require funding a pilot program or several pilot programs. We are requesting $600,000 to pilot the Miss Lena Schulterbrand CTE Fund, named after a leading Virgin Island advocate and career technical education leader. The fund will be used to administer the program by identifying a minimum of 3 schools in each district that would utilize shared instructional programming using classroom technology, industry internships, preferably paid by both this fund and the employer. 4 groups of students in CTE programs, 4 to 6 journeymen instructors to support classroom learning. Each journeyman would be paid an industry-going rate for 3 to 6 hours of instruction per week. Funding will also be used for emergency CTE needs, such as repairing unexpected equipment failures, supporting career and technical student organizations, CTSOs, and professional industry certification of our instructors. The composition of the Virgin Island Board of Career and Technical Education. The board currently has 6 of the 9 members as mandated by the VI Code. All board members were nominated by Governor Bryan and commissioned in late January 2020. We still need 2 board members from the island of St. Thomas and 1 from St. John. The office currently operates with an executive director and 3 staff members, 2 in St. Croix and 1 in St. Thomas. Through VIC Chapter 91 through 99, 261, and 17 VIC Chapter 21 through 23, the Virgin Islands Board for Career and Technical Education is the sole agency responsible for administering career and technical education programs in the Virgin Islands. The VIB-CTE is charged through this authority with the responsibilities including, but not limited to, cooperating with the U.S. Department of Education and administering federal legislation related to career and technical education, approving plans for cooperation with the federal government in carrying out career and technical education programs, administering funds provided by the federal government and the legislature for the promotion of career and technical education, promoting and aiding in the establishment of schools, departments, or classes for training in career and technical subjects, prescribing qualifications for teachers and supervisors of career and technical subjects, establishing qualifications for persons engaged in the training of career and technical education programs, preparing and issuing rules and regulations necessary for the proper administration of career and technical education, prepare an annual budget, and make an annual report for the legislature. The executive committee comprises myself, Joe Murphy, Vice Chairperson Dr. Anastasia Jackson, Secretary Dr. Susan McGrath, Treasurer Ms. Jenny Hawks, and the immediate past chair, Dr. Michael Francois. The board meets every third Wednesday of each month via Teams in a publicly accessible forum. The work of the board is directed by 6 committees, which meet at a regular intervals. They are professional, administrator, and instructor certification, policies, rules, and regulations, chaired by Ms. Genevieve Whitaker, curriculum review, chaired by Dr. Anastasia Jackson, scholarship, chaired by Ms. Whitaker, finance, chaired by Ms. Jenny Hawks, and government liaison, chaired by Dr. Francois. The VIB CTE leases 2 office spaces, one in both districts, at an annual cost of $55,000. The board maintains 2 vehicles, one in each district. We spent $15,000 on utilities. The board has spent its allotment on various unfunded initiatives to support CTE programs from our operating budget. This includes $20,000 in support of CTSOs and $30,000 virtual reality goggles, software, and equipment for career exploration classrooms. These investments aim to provide students with hands-on experiences and exposure to different career pathways. Territorial scholarship. The board awarded 11 individual grants for the Ratzer Scholarship and 5 for the Peterson Scholarship. This year, we are excited to have changed our essay submission to include a video essay to combat AI plagiarism. This innovative approach to academic work involves presenting the content of a traditional written essay through a video forum, incorporating visual elements, narration, and potentially after multimedia components to convey the essay's main points, arguments, and supporting evidence. Certification. Certification is an ongoing process. This year, the board has awarded 43 individual certificates. It must be noted that almost all of the 105 CTE instructors have received certifications at various levels and times. Currently, 15 instructors have met all requirements, and 30 instructors are in the process of reviewing for renewal certification. The Board of Career Technical Education in the U.S. Virgin Islands evaluates CTE instructor certification requirements. CTE instructors must demonstrate significant industry experience, knowledge, and training, and complete various teaching certification requirements. Some states also offer alternative certification pathways for experienced professionals who wish to transition into teaching. As the board considers potential changes to the certification requirements, it will be essential to balance the need for instructors with solid industry knowledge and ensure that they have the pedagogical skills necessary to instruct and mentor students effectively. To that end, we are looking at alternative academic coursework at UVI-CEL provides. Further, the board realizes a difference in instructor requirements for HS and adult instructors versus primary and middle school instructors. VIB-CTE members have worked on the following goals, which have been accomplished while others are in progress. Following is an update summary. Goal 1, restructure CTE as an individual pillar within or separate from the IDE. CTE must be restructured as a separate entity or division within the IDE, but there were and are various reasons as to why this goal was not accomplished. These include a lack of resources to implement the plan from stakeholders, logistical challenges creating a new entity or division. Significant resources, political support, and consensus-building efforts will be essential to achieve the goal. However, this goal is crucial to the survival and success of CTE in the territory and putting it at the forefront of education. We revised the instructor certification manual in summer of 2023, updated and wrote new bylaws, and updated and created new rules to ensure our internal processes are forward-thinking. Goal 2, creating a world-scale USVI chapter. In the face of pandemic-induced hurdles and competition logistics, WorldSkills has deferred VIB CTE's request for further deliberation until the fourth quarter of this year. Undeterred, we passionately advocate for our cause, emphasizing the critical need to foster inclusivity, celebrate diversity, and confront the lingering shadows of colonialism. The U.S. Virgin Islands boasts a rich culture, tapestry, and storied history, making our participation in the WorldSkills significant and imperative. By exposing our students to diverse skill sets and perspectives, we pave the way for transformative learning experiences that transcend borders. As we eagerly await the final decision from the Skills Board, securing funding from the esteemed Ms. Lena Schulterbrand CTE Fund would be instrumental in bolstering our participation. Moreover, by assuming the mantle of ambassadorship, we elevate the territory's global presence, showcasing our unwavering commitment to excellence on the world stage. Together, let us seize this opportunity to ignite a new era of achievement and distinction for the U.S. Virgin Islands, propelling our students to unprecedented heights of success on the international platform. Goal 3, implementing new technology in the classroom. This is an ongoing goal. We acquired the virtual reality Meta Quest Goals and career exploration software for classrooms in 2022. Successful negotiations with the software company enable us to obtain additional programs and VR sets using existing funds. Notably, the Academy of Health Sciences now offer the Patient Care Foundation module, providing simulations for various aspects of patient care. We have also added 30 modules for career exploration and automotive technology modules, leading to automotive service excellence certification, bringing us closer to the 21st century CTE classroom. Goal 4, interagency collaboration. This is an ongoing goal. We have partnered with VIBE and now using the same online certification portal. It is a work in progress requiring the initiation of instructors as to the process. This will speed up the process for instructors and other CTE professionals who want to renew or apply for a new certification. We continue to participate in events sponsored by VIDE CTE and Department of Labor's Workforce Development. The University of the Virgin Islands, through UVI Cell, is also an integral partner supporting instructor certification exams and coursework. For fiscal year 24-25, Goal 1, instructor certification and professional development. Again, it's an ongoing goal. Our commitment to instructor certification remains steadfast, recognizing the diverse timelines inherent in this process, where we made notable strides in certifying CT instructors. Achieving full certification demands individual engagement and sustained collaboration with the Department of Education. Currently, our progress stands at 60% overall certification, with a notable challenge in achieving a 10% increase in full certification. To address this, we're actively pursuing additional pathways to full certification for our instructors. Collaborating closely with the State Office of CTE, we've established joint initiatives including participation in an online certification program offered by ACTE, Max Knowledge, and Harvard Business School. Moreover, we're dedicated to providing ongoing professional development opportunities tailored to the needs of our instructors. Our proposal includes annual profession-specific courses with initiatives such as complimentary OSHA 10-hour certification course. Recognizing the potential of financial barriers, we're exploring options for partial coverage through the Ms. Lena Schulterbrand CTE Fund, pending approval. Through these concerted efforts, we aim to empower our instructors with the necessary skills and certifications to excel in their roles, ultimately enhancing the quality of education delivered to our students. Goal 2, incorporate journeymen and specialists as part-time instructors. Our objective is to initiate a pilot program across 5 key CT programs of study: automotive technology, construction technology, cybersecurity, accounting, and medical assistance. Working collaboratively with our partners, we will develop a well-defined implementation plan to aim at ensuring the success of this initiative. Our primary focus is to showcase the value and effectiveness of incorporating journeymen and specialists as part-time instructors within these programs, with the ultimate goal of potential expansion to additional fields in the future. Funding for this endeavor will be sought from the Ms. Lena Schulterbrand CTE Fund, pending approval. Number 3, enhance CTE and CTSO programs. We aim to invigorate the development of CTE and CTSO's programs, igniting a wave of transformative learning experiences. Among our top priorities is a meticulous refinement of the agriculture curriculum, extending its reach across all grade levels and seamlessly aligning it with the esteemed University of the Virgin Islands School of Agriculture. While we eagerly anticipate the release of the curriculum for the agriculture program by the Department of Education for final approval, rest assured that we are actively engaged in facilitating this process with a dedicated board member, Dr. Jackson, collaborating closely with the Department of Education. We are poised to navigate any hurdles and expedite progress. But our ambitions do not stop there. We envision pioneering new frontiers in education by implementing pioneering pilot programs led by journeymen and specialists. These innovative initiatives promise to revolutionize learning paradigm, empowering students with hands-on experiences and industry-relevant skills that transcend traditional classroom boundaries. As we embark on this journey of innovation and growth, we invite you to join us in reshaping the education landscape and unlocking boundless opportunities for our students' future success. Communication and marketing goal 4. Our objective is to amplify the visibility and appeal of all CTE programs through multifaceted approach to communication and marketing. To achieve this, we have implemented a dynamic initiative designed to captivate and inform our target audience. Central to our strategy is the establishment of a monthly online town hall meeting, meticulously crafted to serve as a vibrant platform for showcasing the breadth and depth of our CTE offerings. These interactive sessions spotlight the diverse array of opportunities available, including dual credit and enrollment options, and foster meaningful community engagement through real-time Q&A sessions. In addition to our own town hall meetings, we leverage the power of social media and other advertising channels to disseminate compelling narratives about our programs. By harnessing the latest in the digital innovation and strategic storytelling, we aim to penetrate diverse demographics and capture imaginations of prospective students. Through these innovative tactics and collaborative efforts, we are poised to expand the reach of our CTE programs and inspire a new generation of learners to pursue rewarding careers in high-growth industries. Together, we can raise awareness and ensure the enduring success of our CTE initiatives. Goal 5, interagency collaborations. We aim to cultivate impactful CTE initiatives through robust collaborations with essential stakeholders such as the Department of Education, the University of the Virgin Islands, UVI CEL, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Labor, and the Virgin Islands Board of Education. Central to our efforts is establishing a comprehensive agriculture program spanning elementary to college levels, paving a clear path toward an agriculture degree at UVI and lucrative career prospects in high-growth sectors. We prioritize facilitating internships and on-the-job training opportunities for secondary school students while actively engaging adult learners through our workforce development program. Through ongoing collaboration, we ensure that our CTE programs remain responsive to our communities and students' evolving needs. Madam Chairwoman, investing in career and technical education is crucial for the future of our students and our economy. We can ensure that the Virgin Islands remain competitive and prosperous by providing our students with the skills and knowledge they need to succeed in rapidly evolving global workforce. We urge you to support our request for the Ms. Lena Schulterbrand CTE Fund and help us build a stronger, more resilient future for our community. Thank you for the opportunity to present this testimony, and we look forward to working with you to advance career and technical education in the Virgin Islands. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, for your testimony. Colleagues, we're going to go to a 4-minute round. Okay, 4-minute round. And we will start with Senator Marvin Blyden. You may proceed, Senator Blyden.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Again to my colleagues, good afternoon. Board Chair Murphy and your assistant there with you, good afternoon. Board Chair Calwood and your staff, your supporting cast there with you, and thank you so much for your testimonies. I'm going to start with you, Board Chair Calwood. In respect to your testimony, you spoke to 619 applications that was received in the 23-24 award period, and you appropriated $1,500 for each eligible applicant. How much of those applicants were approved?
So I'll allow Ms. Sylvie Reimer, our Financial Aid Coordinator, to respond.
The total applicant, good afternoon, Sylvanie Reimer, Financial Aid Coordinator. Of those applicant, the acceptance number 558, I believe.
558?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me ask in respect to the postal report, page 5 of 8, outstanding vendor payments. You have 28 outstanding vendor payments, totally 97,526. What's being done to address that situation?
So that number actually has been updated, Senator, but I'll allow Ms. Verdell Parsons, our accountant, to respond to that question.
Please.
Verdell Parsons, accountant, good afternoon. To date, of that 97,526 and 63 cents, only 2 vendors were not paid from that list, totaling $8,090. All other vendors were already paid.
I'm happy to hear that. And when do we expect to get those 2 vendors paid?
The other 2 vendor payments just came in partially on Friday. I got partial payment for national school boards, and I'm still awaiting payment for central warehouse. So I'm hoping that this week we'll get more payments coming in.
Very well, thank you for that. The CTEC board, in respect to the post-out report for your operation, it basically stated that most of the information did not come in for that, but did you get the information for, did you send in information for professional services, contracts, your leases, etc.? Bank accounts?
We do have information about our
outstanding.
for information.
1 minute.
Let me take a look. I apologize.
Okay, let's start with your vendor payments. Outstanding vendor payments. Do you have any? And what that amount? Because it stated none was submitted.
Okay, we do have our outstanding balances for our vendors. At this point, it stands at $21,813.05.
30 seconds.
And for those outstanding amounts, what's the plan to have them paid? And what's the timeline for the payments?
Me, Senator, I didn't hear the question exactly. You wanted the timeline for payment?
Yes, for
It
those
depends
outstanding
on the
vendor
Department of
payments.
Finance. Depends on the Department of Finance. We're waiting for their approval for most of them.
Okay, professional service contracts. Do you still have the same 3 contracts, or do you have any new contracts
Time.
in place?
Sorry, Senator, you're referring that question to the CT board?
Yes, ma'am.
Professional services contract?
Yes, Ms. Murphy.
And your question is, are there any outstanding?
No, you have the listing for the 24 budget, ABC Sales and Service, Reach Tech Exterminating, and CTE board members. Do you have any new contracts in place, or do you still have the same 3 contracts that's on record?
I'll let Dr. Jackson answer that.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Jackson. I'm vice chair for the board. We do not have any other contracts other than those listed.
Okay, very well. And in closing, let me ask you in respect to the different categories that you stated in your testimony in respect to, in my opinion, what's going on here in the territory, all of those different areas when it comes to technical jobs. And I think that's on point. I look forward to seeing how assured that you get all of your funding that's requested, and that you continue on the path of increasing your instructors, bringing on your journeymen, etc., in order to assure that the certification continues and our folks are trained in those areas. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator Blyden. Just quickly to the CTE board. Is the executive director on the line?
Yes, it appears so, Senator. I'm afraid he has a very poor connection. He's not able to communicate with us.
The reason why I asked the question is because, boards support the organization through establishing the policies and, those matters that are related to the running of the Career and Technical Education Board in particular. But the executive director must be that person that's able to tell us, we have to be careful with how we're setting precedent here in the territory and, and those of us who are responsible for following the law. The executive director is that responsible person to, in fact, provide this information that we're asking for the budget. Board members deal with career and technical education type matters with our schools and our commissioners, et cetera, our commissioner. So he's not on the line? It just feels very unusual that the board would be testifying about how many contracts we have and those types of things. It's very unusual to me. I just have to say something about it.
Senator, he did have
Yes. He's
he
on
is
the
on the
line?
line right now. I believe he's able to communicate.
Okay, can you just provide a response to Senator Blyden's questions, Mr. Actually, please put your name and title on the record so we can.
Anton Lewis, Executive Director, Board of Career and Education.
Okay, did you hear Senator Blyden's question?
In regards to contracts, we do not have any other contracts. In regards to submitting the paperwork, was submitted. Apparently, we had notice given to send them to another email address, which we did. We received a call back. We forwarded all the documents as requested, so they should be all in your mailbox. I do not know why OMB has reference to outstanding bills and stuff, which I submitted in February, and why the update wasn't done. I submitted the requested paperwork from leases, including the execution of extended leases that are attached to the paperwork and sent in.
Okay, so thank you for that response.
Conversation.
Thank you for your response, and that information should have been provided to. Did you provide that information to the legislature's post-audit division? Or you
Yes, ma'am. I received a call from a young lady and I have immediately sent the files that you have missing. Forwarded her those files directly from the link where I sent them to.
Okay, so
So
we
they
have
were
to get that.
received last. She told me that right away, and I actually sent them within minutes.
Okay,
So I'm
so
sure she had tried to get it in, but somehow it didn't make it where it needs to go.
all right, so we have to get that information updated, Mr. Post Editor, please. All right, Board of Education. So when we look at the budget requests for 24-5, the budget book, did you guys get a copy of the budget book?
Yes, we did, Senator.
So the budget book has a hard number of 2.387697. But when we add it up, it's actually, the number is actually off. It's actually 2,477,967. Did you all find that discrepancy as well?
Yes, we did.
Why didn't you share it with us in your testimony?
No, this is well, not in the testimony. We saw it in the post audit report when we got that today.
Oh, you saw it in the post report.
Today, right. Online, it says the 2,387,697. So.
No, but I was asking you if did you get a copy of the budget book?
Yes, we did.
And did you see the discrepancy when you did your review of the budget book? That's basically what I was asking.
So in terms of, once we saw that it was the same 2 million, we didn't add it up.
Oh, you didn't do the
Basically add it
calculation.
up. But now that we
Trust.
went back to it, now we saw where the
Trust.
discrepancies and we know where the error is.
Trust but verify. The number is
Definitely.
incorrect.
Definitely.
Okay, so we do the additions. All right,
I could provide you the actual number where the discrepancy would have fallen.
no, we're seeing it. We know what it is.
It's in personnel
Yeah, we've done the
services where
work.
the error is. Okay.
Okay, so tell me then.
So in personnel services, you will have an error instead of the recommendation that you have seen online for OMB at 1,101,917. It should be 1,011,917.
Okay, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to send back the information to us. Did you have it broken down in your testimony?
No, we don't. But what we submitted to post audit would have the correct number. So OMB has something different.
Okay.
What your post audit division would have the 1,011,917.
So you sent them the breakdown. Okay,
Yes,
thank
we
you.
did.
All right, Senator, boy, what I do with my names? A lot of paper here. Not sure who's next.
I think it's Javon.
Senator James, you're recognized for your 4 minutes. James Senior, sorry.
Greetings to the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the time. If this question was asked before, my apologies. I just need to know from the CTEC board or from, yes, CTEC, Educational Board, what contributed to those past due payments. Seeing here outstanding vendor obligations. I'm not sure if that was outstanding at the time when you submitted those numbers, but I just need to find out here. I'm seeing a lot of past due, and that's on page 6 of 7 of the post-audit report. I'm not sure if you have that.
Anton Dews, Executive Director for the Board of Career Technical Education. Yes, sir, I certainly do have these numbers. These numbers were submitted in early of spring when the first request came out. And that amount has been cleared to now $21,000, $813.50. Out of that, there is one pending, one rejection. Everything else has been approved by the ERP, but no checks have been cut. This is one of the requests that we had in our testimony for a reinstatement of our lump sum budget so we can pay our bills in time.
Okay, and through the chair, I would just like to request that information so we can have an accurate reading. I'm not saying it's inaccurate, it just time has elapsed since it was submitted and what we're experiencing here. And then I know there are several instances in the section for outstanding vendor obligation that speaks to recent entry. Just simply break that down for me. Recent entry as far as it was recently entered, and if so, if you can explain to us when these were entered, do you have that data readily available? And that still page 6 of 7 of the post-audit report.
I do not have the exact dates that these payments were entered. I know that my staff sends out every Monday a priority list of payments which are still in the system but have not been paid. And what I received this morning is what I submitted last week, $21,813.50. And out of that money, there is $7,500 to CTEC for the Skills USA attendance of the national conference. That was submitted over a month ago, $7,500 approved but not paid. $2,000 to Woodson, approved but not paid. We have wire bills, $525 approved, not paid. Another $513 approved, not paid. Another $525 approved but not paid. St. Croix Business Machines, we have $1,830 which are held because the account that it is appropriated for Inc. is apparently empty, so I have to reappropriate money from another account. Global Tours has a $928 outstanding, which is approved but not paid. There are a possible $200 approved and not paid. So basically, the issues that we have is that these payments are approved through the ERP. However, checks have not been cut to the vendor as of yet.
Okay, thank you for placing that on the record and being transparent with us. Like I said, just submit that information to us because I just want to make sure it's a very small budget, but we want to make sure that while we speak about the FY 2025 budget, that those past due payments are not rolling
30
over.
seconds.
So not be anything rolling over, right? In the next.
No, the way we work our budget is that by August we should have all our insurances and everything prepaid and done, so that we are within our allotted amounts.
And I will let you use the remainder of my time to let us know what are your challenges, your financial challenges, when it comes to running this CTEC board. As we speak about our FY 2020 budget, what are your challenges? And I will end right there.
Well, the challenge, I can work with the amount of money that was allotted to us to OMB. However, if you ask me to make a budget, and that budget is then cut into 12 equal payments, then that ends up to be an issue that in certain months I have no funding to pay my bills and I have to wait until my next allocation or next month comes in. If you ask me to give you a monthly itemized budget, that's a different story, right? So I give you a yearly budget based on a lump sum payment, but break that down to 12 months. For instance, if I put in there that I have a travel allotment for the board, and there is a month or 4 quarters for conference, I couldn't pay that out because it's cut up into 12 equal payments. So that's one of the challenges we have. The other challenge is that we are on the understanding, but then we are told, no, we have on one side, and the other hand says, no, we don't. So we kind of conflict apart.
Well, you were very choppy, but I think I can understand what you're saying. My time was called. I don't want to abuse my time. As far as the Board of Education, thank God the judge made the ruling. Let's see what's going to happen with VI history. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator James Sr. Senator DeGraff, you're recognized for your 4 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, testifiers, all viewing, listening, and present. Chairperson Calwood, what is your ask for 25? Your request, budget request, total?
It's $2,387,697, the same as this current, the current fiscal year.
Okay, and what is your actuals for personnel, fringe, utility, supplies, so I could get those here for the 24 budget. What are your actuals right now? Personnel?
Our director, Sandra Best, who can give you that information.
Okay.
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. As of June 2024, our personnel services is $532,338. Our fringe is $278,402. Our supplies, $50,124. Other services, $383,721. Our utilities, $13,847. A total of $1,258,434 to date. I'm sorry, as of June 2024.
As of June 2024. Chairperson Murphy, what is your ask from the 25 budget total?
The total that we're asking for, Senator, is $1,284,681.
Okay, and give me your actuals right now for the 24 budget. Personnel, fringe, utility, supplies.
What I have for the 24 budget is what we have spent thus far. In other words, understanding that the fiscal year is not complete.
Right.
But for personnel.
Go ahead.
Personnel services, we spent thus far $191,578. For fringe benefits, $78,058. Supplies, $10,979. For other services and charges, $108,880. Utilities, $2,200. And capital outlay is $288 as of today's date. In other words, it's not complete.
Yeah, sure. Could you give me the personnel and capital outlay again, please?
Personnel for 24 budget thus far is $191,578. And capital outlay thus far is $288.
Okay. Chairman Calwood, did you have any capital outlay
1 minute.
for 24 up to now?
Ms. Best can respond to your question, Senator.
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. To date, we have not completed the capital projects. They are in process. We will have a contractors meeting next week, and that is for the administration building.
So, excuse me, what
30
did
seconds.
you have budgeted for the 24 budget? What was the total amount?
Okay, so we had at capital projects $90,000, and then as a miscellaneous $401,965,000.
And how much has been spent to date?
Nothing has been spent to date, as we are in the process or in progress for those contracts.
Time.
Okay, so nothing has been spent for your capital outlay, but in the 25 budget, you're asking for, what are you asking for capital outlay? Zero, I think it was.
In the 25, it's $90,000.
$90,000, okay. 25, $90,000, okay.
I could add to your to that, Senator, if you allow me. For the capital project miscellaneous, this body provided us with relocation costs for our St. Croix office. Of course, that hasn't been done yet due to the new location is still going construction. So that'll be for furniture, transportation costs that hasn't been done yet. Also, in terms of the Gertie House, we don't have an executed contract between property requirement yet. So once we get that contract in, a bulk of this money will be expended.
Okay, as long as the money now going to cover into 25.
It will cover, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so Your total appropriated funds for fiscal year 2024 was $2.4 million.
Yes, that's Senator. That's correct.
And you have the same ask for fiscal year 2025 with an increase in your personnel services of 303,000, give or take.
Yes.
So what's the purpose of this 30? It's actually more than 303 if you
So it'll be
fix the number.
It'll be the 3% increase that we have added on for salary adjustment for the classified non-union salaries.
What is that total? What is the total of the non-classified?
It's about.
Non-union
I'll have
positions.
to. I'll have to get that figure for you in a second. If you give me a second, I'll get that figure for you.
Okay, Ms. Bess,
Yes, Senator.
we need you to provide that information because we need to be clear on that. And then you have an increase of $10,000 in supplies. What's the purpose of that increase? And then on the other services, you have an increase of $103,000. What's the purpose of that increase?
Senator, Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. When I looked over it, looks like there's just a classification adjustment in the 698 and the 7, because when I looked at my own classification, it
Which
was...
698? What do you mean?
Okay, so we're talking about the FY 2025.
Correct.
Okay. For other services and charges, there is 698 total there. When I recategorized it, it's actually 708, and then the supplies is 77,500.
Yeah, but last fiscal year, your other services were 595. So even if the number is higher, what is the reason for the additional amount in that particular category? Other services and charges. Because this is what I see here. Because what I see is that y'all are just shifting the dollars throughout your budget. And what I mean by that is in fiscal year 24, you had 401,966 for miscellaneous, which is associated with your moving from office space to office space, right? So now that goes away in 25. What we're seeing that's happening is those funds were shifted throughout the other categories to make the number the exact same number. That's sort of creative, but we need to know actual numbers. You understand? So you had at 2.3 because of the additional 4. But the additional 4 is not available to you in FY25. So your budget should be, the difference should be less 401,966 plus whatever the amount is associated with your non-union classified increases. Make sense?
Yes, Senator.
So I need those numbers. What is the projected salary increases associated with the non-union classified employees for FY 2025? Okay? And then you shared with my colleague that spoke earlier that your utilities to date is 14,000, correct? As of
Give or
June.
take, yes, give or take.
However, your utilities category in your budget is 42,000. So in the next 3 months, if you're at 14 as of June, how would you get to 42? So we need some actual expenses around your utilities, and your other services and charges category. Senator DeGraff, you're recognized for your point of information.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairperson Calwood, when I asked you what was your ask, you said 2,387,697.
That's correct.
You said the same as 24.
Right.
Right. So that's why I was wondering how do you reflect wage increases and those things for personnel?
So the wage increases would have been shifted between personnel and fringe for personnel. So that would be if the difference between the 797,953 for the 1,001,017 acts that we're asking is a difference of 213,964 in personnel for that 3%.
Okay, but so when you look at your actuals now for 24, your personnel at 5,323,38.
500 and,
Yeah, 532,338.
yes.
And then your fringe at 278,472.
That's correct.
It still don't see the bump up in 25 to cover those wage agreements. So I guess what you're asking, Madam Chair, is once you send it, then we'll see it a little clearer.
Right. So
That's what I'm saying.
just to be clear, the 3% will show in terms of the difference between the personnel and fringe. I think the senator's concern in terms of capital projects and miscellaneous, that you wouldn't have that fund, that's where she'll want to see the difference.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So please provide an updated listing of your personnel, services, and your associated fringe benefits, and then you could do another column. And the 3% has already been established?
It hasn't been implemented yet, Senator, no.
Not implemented, but established.
Yes.
So you are, for sure, it will be a hard 3% across the board?
So in terms of what they normally give in government for GS non-unit is 3%. So we kept it at the 3%. I'm not aware of any more than 3% that's going to be given.
Okay, so attach that as another column so we could see the calculation.
No problem, we can do
And then
that.
we'll come back to what the bottom line is.
Yeah, we can share that
right.
with you. That's not a problem.
You recognize your point of information, Senator DeGrasse. Senator DeGrasse, Mike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so you said for GS employees, so there is a pay schedule for your GS employees in 25. So it may not be across the board 3% because of your employees, the time and grade and everything.
So in terms of the employees GS, so it's only 3 exempt staff. Every other employee is GS non-union.
Okay, so across the board, you figure 3%
The
will cover.
3%, right.
Okay.
Because we wouldn't just give one person one and another two, that creates employee morale conflicts.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Fonseca, you recognize for your 4 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, quickly, I saw you gave the employees, they got an increase in 22, right?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, good. I was looking here at the WAPA, the listing outstanding balance, and I noticed that the Board of Education, as of March 31, actually did not have a balance with WAPA.
No.
Okay, good. I want to go to the student delinquent loans, the collection you had so far, 272,130 collected, and you listed that the total delinquent was 1,282,513, and you was considering a write-off, possibly, of that.
1 second, Senator. I think it's a write-off. What page is that on again?
11.
11, okay. Yes. So the Committee on Finance have discussed in terms of writing off those that with a maximum of $100. So to just ensure that we could, because for instance, you may have some people that owe maybe $75, $100, and we can't get in touch with them. You write letters, call. So those kind of accounts.
Okay.
Those individuals that we can get in touch with, we'll make every effort to ensure that they pay their balance.
Okay. On page 9, the VIEDC beneficiaries, so those, just help me to understand, those are companies due to the program, the government program, they're obligated to make these contributions. I've noticed, for example, some of them, like for example, I don't particularly want to call out any name, but let's just go to page 9 here. Let's go to the first one, right? I mean, to the second one. There's a company here. They have fiscal year 23 was 15,000, but fiscal May 31, 24 is 0. What's the explanation for that?
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. His certificate issued by the EDC is dependent on. It's a certificate that's given. Sometimes this beneficiary might have done 5 payments to make up the late.
So it
late.
doesn't mean, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Sorry, it's okay. No, yes, it doesn't mean that it's late, or it just means that sometimes they're making up or they're penalized for not making the contribution previously.
Okay, so this one here, the second one for 15 and 23, are you expecting another 15 or it's zero?
Maybe not another 15, sir. It may be 3,000, which may be it's usually the
1 minute.
standard, or sometimes some of them have to do a 10,000 based on the type of industry that they are in, Senator.
Okay, the teacher certifications, you noted, education particularly, they just outlined there's a lot of teacher certification. That program is run through you. Are there any benefits for the teachers to certify? Are there any penalties
30
for them
seconds.
not to certify?
There are no penalties, as indicated at the hearing. The penalty is that they be terminated based on the Virgin Islands Code. That's the only penalty. The Board of Education doesn't give them a penalty. We have a small fee of $30 for them to come in and submit the application along with the professional development hours, or for those that's coming first in the system with a degree requirements, a transcript, and then the committee makes a deliberation, and ultimately the board
Time.
makes a decision of either having you to get your certification.
Madam Chair, can I be allowed to finish? This question is for Joan Murphy on St. Croix. Ms. Murphy, you mentioned several times the Schulterbrand Fund utilization variances, and you're requesting new uses. Give me some more detail of exactly what you mean there.
How we propose to use the money for the Schulterbrand Fund?
Yes.
We have a proposed budget, and total amount of the fund that we're requesting is $600,000. Around $30,000 will be used for teacher instructor participating in video online classroom instruction, meaning that, let's say, a teacher or instructor in St. Thomas have expertise that we would like to also have shared in St. Croix, then we would use the latest technology, the video technology, so that information can be taught on both islands at the same time. So we're
Okay,
asking
can I ask you through the chair to provide that breakdown of the 600,000 utilization?
Yes, I believe we did, but let me go over it. I did put down $53,000 for a contractual position, but I would like to actually take that back because we do have a vacant position for a grant monitor that can substitute for
Okay,
that.
Ms. Murphy,
$70,000 for shared programs.
Sorry, Ms. Murphy. Can you provide the information through the chair on the details and your changes? Thank you, Madam Chair, for the time.
Ms. Murphy, did you have that in your testimony somewhere? What page?
I have it but I didn't read it. It's
Where-
available. I will.
Where in your testimony is it located?
It's one of the, it should be benefits.
An attachment.
Pardon, what?
It should,
Where in your testimony is it located?
it was an appendix. If it did not get to you, Madam
please.
Chairperson, I apologize, and I will get it to you immediately.
Perfect.
But we do have an appendix to the testimony.
Perfect. We did not receive the appendix, so please forward it to the committee and we'll share it with all of my colleagues. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Francis Jr., you're recognized for your 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good afternoon to everyone. Certainly to Dr. Callwood and his team, Ms. Murphy and her team. Welcome. Ms. Bess, how long have you been interim director?
At least a year and 7 months. I'm sorry, Sandra Best, Interim Executive Director, at least a year and 7 months.
Dr. Callwood, how long Ms. Best gonna be acting before she get this award?
The board will be making a decision in short order.
Or short order? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
I'm thinking about 30 days or less.
Thank you very much. Are you in any way, shape, or form revenue collecting? Do you have any fees, fines, or any mechanism where you do collections?
So only collection effort will be through certification where we actually collect money.
How much were you able to collect during this fiscal year?
I will allow Ms. Best to provide the figure for you.
Sandra Best, Interim Executive Director. As of May 31st, 2024, the collections unit has collected $130.39.
And what happens to that money once you collect it?
The money is recirculated to allow students to get loans. That's where we add so that makes up that's what makes up the Territorial Scholarship Fund.
Okay. And who accounts for that money to ensure that it's being properly deposited and reinvested?
The loan officers deposit the money and we send the record to the Department of Finance, who reconciles the account.
Okay. Are you aware of any judgment or litigation pending against the board?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Murphy, do you collect any fees, fines, collection in any way, shape, or form?
You charge, as the Board of Education, $30 for certification from individual instructors.
How much money have you been able to
That
collect?
is only
I'm sorry? How much money have you been able to collect in FY24 thus far?
we have not collected.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
We have not collected any payments for certification yet.
No payments. Okay. Very well. Do you have any pending litigation or judgment against the CTE?
No litigation.
Okay. Dr. Cowell, when can the 2024 recipients be able to receive their scholarship awards?
1 minute.
So we're hoping by August that they will receive those awards. Once the applicants turn in their required documentation, it's immediately entered in the system for processing. One thing I would say, the Department of Finance do work with us during that process to ensure that the students receive their checks timely.
And they already been, the information that's required already been requested of them?
So yes, they have been sent out. Not all have been submitted, but those
30 seconds.
that have submitted, we have begun processing.
Okay. And real quickly before my time ran out, what is the trigger by which the EDC companies notify you of the beneficiary, and then what happens? Do you just receive a lump sum check from EDC, from finance, or what happened that triggers that money coming into your coffers?
Sandra Best, Interim Executive Director. The beneficiary sends us directly a check and we acknowledge receipt of the check.
And that comes in individually or collectively?
Individually from each
Time.
company.
Individually from each company. Madam Chair, if I may just wrap up with one or two. All right, and that is done automatically in May, or it just randomly sent, or what happens there?
Sandra Best, Interim Executive Director. They are sent randomly, sir, and we acknowledge receipt. We report that we acknowledge receipt of it to the beneficiary, and we also notify the EDC.
Okay. And the additional money, you got $50,000 this time around, based on your notation here, that too is then reinvested or put into the pool for awards?
Yes, Senator, it is included in the Territorial Scholarship Fund.
Very well. And have you received any money from ARPA Cares or the Office of Insular Affairs outside of what you've reported here so far?
No, sir.
No funding?
No funding.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the leniency and time, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Francis Jr. I recalled the governor in one of his press conferences saying that he was giving $1,000 to every high school student that submitted an essay. How much of those funds, or how much money has been expended as a result of that essay program?
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. We have, sorry, I was looking for it. It's $669,000 that was done in FY 2023.
669. It was $1 million in all, correct? Mm-hmm.
It was $1 million, but it was broken down based on the applicants we received as of September 30th. So what happened was that they changed the amount. We were able to upgrade it to $1,500 to each student, and it was based only on the amount of applications we received as of September 30th, 2023.
So it was for that particular school year, which would have been 2022-23 school year.
That's correct.
And it was $669,000 that you paid out thus far?
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. Yes, on page 8, it talks about the $669,000 that was given to each student for this. Was given $1,500 was given to students for 2020 who were school graduates of 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023 for that period.
So the total essentially is 669 for those
Got it.
four together.
Received. All right, so the program has essentially ended.
Yes, Senator.
Got it. CTE, I think one of my colleagues asked a question about collections, and you said that you have not collected any funding to date for, I think you charged $30 for certification, but in your testimony, I thought you said that you certified, I don't remember how many people, but you did certify individuals this year. So am I accurate, or did I miss something on that?
Yes, Senator. Accurate. We started a new certification, an online certification. It's a work in progress. It's not completely there yet. And the fee will be $30. But we have certified.
So
We have 105 teachers who have received some type of certification over the past years. But I think there are around 60 teachers that are currently certified and 15 teachers that are fully certified.
No, I'm not trying to establish how many teachers are certified. I'm trying to ask
But we
you.
haven't deducted any money as of yet for the new certification process.
So the $30 is something new.
It is something new. It is something that we,
When is it effective? When is it? One second. Just focus on the question. When will the $30 program begin?
Well, I can say, Senator, that the teachers have been notified. We're hoping to start the program in 2024.
What does that mean?
September 20.
What month, when does this certification fee, when do teachers have to start paying a certification fee? I mean, that notice.
September 2024.
September? Yeah, you're kind of breaking up, so that's why we're having a little hard time. Say that again.
In September of 2024, they will be charged a fee.
Okay, so you haven't started charging yet. Okay, we needed to be clear on that. Now, going back to, my colleague asked a question about the EDC funds. And the EDC funds, we actually increased those funds. Did you all see the fact that those funds were increased?
No, Senator.
Please go back and look at the EDC laws as it relates to what should be coming to the Board of Education. or have a conversation with EDA. But so when you receive, how much money do you receive on an annual basis from the EDC companies? How do you know when a new EDC company comes online?
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. We really don't know unless we look at the list of EDC beneficiaries that are the EDC beneficiary on the website.
So there is no collaboration between, the law is clear about the fact that the Board of Education is to receive a certain amount of dollars. Please take some time, look at the law, reach out to EDA, so y'all could have some sort of system in place, because you should know who's coming online, so you could hold them accountable for the funding, right?
You're absolutely correct.
Yes, so once you receive that money, because then you should be able to have a projection as to how much money you will receive each fiscal year. So when you receive those funds, I know the question was asked, but I was not clear on the response. Those funds go into a pot for the territorial scholarship.
That's correct, Senator.
Grant or loans?
So it's combination loan and grant.
Okay, so that's a problem.
Combination.
The EDC money is going into that pot to give the students, not for it to be a loan. That's why I went back to the question. So please look at.
The law says that?
It's a grant.
So we'll read the law to verify. No problem.
Yes, it
Trust but
goes into
verify.
the program for the students of the territory. So I'm still not clear as to how y'all are treating these EDC monies and some of the other collections that y'all have. So we give you how much money in scholarships annually? Outside of the named scholarships, we give you an additional amount, right?
Yes, Senator. Ms. Reimer can provide that number for you.
And how much is that? Outside of the named scholarships.
Your special legislative.
Sylvanie Reimer, Financial Aid Coordinator. Outside of the named scholarship, we received a territorial scholarship amounting $1,192,416.
Okay, so this $1.1 million is a combination of loan and grant?
That's correct.
So how much money is grant and how much money is a loan?
The board has approved $1,500 in loan and $1,500 in grant.
No, that's not what I meant. What portion of the 1.1 or the 1.2 is loan and what portion is grant?
I don't think we have it broken down into that category. We do it based on the number of students that we receive, and then we decide. Because, for instance, years ago it used to be only $1,000 that the students used to get in loan and grant. We have increased it.
So what you do is each student gets a loan and a grant?
Yes, Senator.
So each student gets a minimum of $3,000?
That's correct.
And you do that based on how many students apply?
How many students apply, yes.
So I guess have you done your true up for this year?
No, we haven't finished because we usually give the report
So
to
what
the
about last
Senate.
year?
Ms. Reimer could provide that for last year as well.
Sylvanie Reimer, Financial Aid Coordinator. FY 2023, we contributed
Speak in the mic. Yeah.
$1,137,200, and that was territorial loan and grant.
And how much students did we impact?
We had 470 students, to include 387 in the territorial loan and grant, 9 in service, 36.
To include or?
387 territorial loan and grant, which $1,137,200. 9, the in-service training grant skill center, $7,200. Nursing, 38, and general scholarships, 36. So the total amount, $1,514,400 was distributed.
1,514,400.
And the difference in the amount of the 1 million that we receive came from the EDC and also our collection efforts.
Let me tell you why I asked the question. I asked the question because we should be seeing a revolving door, right? But we're not seeing that based on what you're providing. You understand? So your total, we give you 1,137,000, and that's basically what you're pushing out every year. On top of, with the other, what do you call it, legislative grants included.
Yeah,
that
the
comes
special
up to the
legislative
1.5. But you are not pushing out more than the 137. So what is the amount that's in your bank account that's associated with your loan payments? Because that the purpose of that is for us to have some sort of a replenishing system going on.
We can give you a breakdown analysis of that information that you seek, Senator.
You understand?
I understand where you're going with it. Yes, we can provide information to you.
Do you have that information?
I don't think we have that here, no. Well, we could provide that specific information you're asking
But
based
I
on your
understand
question that you
y'all-
generated.
Y'all understand what's wrong with your program?
I wouldn't say there's something wrong with the program until we could provide you that documentation to show what we're doing with the money. So saying that we have something
Then
wrong
you
with it
should
is
be
only
able-
an assessment and an
Then you
assumption
should be
and
able to
not
tell
direct.
me, you should be able to say to me that once we receive our replenishment, that annually we use 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 from the replenishment. So the question is, what are we using from the replenishment, or we may not be getting anything back? That's highly likely as well. That's basically what I'm trying to understand, because at some point, when last was this audited? This scholarship program?
The scholarship program is audited at the end of the program. The staff always does that audit of those funds
Oh, no,
and provide a
not-
report to
no.
the board.
No, not staff audit. I'm talking about like an external, you can hire, I don't mean like an audit in that.
Oh, okay.
In a
No,
negative way.
we haven't got an external audit. That's a part of the internal controls committee. That's something that they're getting ready to do.
Yeah, so you should be having somebody, you do it yourself. It's your,
Well, we do internal for us, but in terms of getting somebody, that's something the internal controls committee is working to procure.
okay.
As
Who-
part of the inspector audit, general's audit, that's something we're required to do. So I don't have a name of the auditor. If you're asking who the auditor will be, because that
No, that's not what
hasn't
I'm
come
asking.
to
I'm
that
not
hasn't come to
asking that.
fruition yet.
I am not asking that. I'm asking you,
Mm-hmm.
who internally, do you have an internal auditor?
We don't have an internal auditor.
Okay, so if you don't have an internal auditor, then you're not doing internal audits. You're doing a check per se, but you're not doing an internal audit. So I'm suggesting that you at least get somebody external that you pay for to make sure that they're watching this, so you could be clear on how you're pushing the money in and out. Because as I look at this, the funding that you're using for your special, and I may be wrong, but just based on the numbers that you shared with me, it just appears as if it's just the money that you're receiving within that fiscal year.
Senator,
see?
we understand where you're going with
Okay.
it. Again, we're going to provide the information to you, so the decisions that need to be made or the internal audit that we will do going forward will help to determine how effective the program is.
Okay, understood. How long are we doing territorial scholarships?
From 1942, a
That's
long
my
time
point.
before I was born. Yes.
That's my point. Senator Francis Jr., you're recognized. That's my point.
Going back to the beneficiary contributions, Dr. Cowwood, in respect to those individuals that have not paid, based on the listing that have been provided here, we see several of the EDSC companies that have not paid yet. Is there a timeline for them to pay, and whether or not there is a penalty if they're not paying in a timely fashion?
I think they're supposed to be paid by the end of the year, but of course, that's something we'll have to work with EDA to verify. Because what we do, once we get the monies, we immediately submit, I think at some point in the year, we submit a report in terms of these are a list of individuals that have submitted the monies. In terms of what they do, in terms of the penalty, because the board doesn't have the responsibility to levy a penalty against them, but EDA is responsible for doing a penalty, hence why you see some of them give these big number figures because either they were late and they have to add on additional money. So in terms of levying and who the enforcement piece, EDA has that responsibility.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that there is some accountability and people are paying because this impacts our children of the Virgin Islands. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question, Senator.
All right, so again, there must be a direct collaboration between EDC and yourself, in addition to the fact that you provide your scholarships when?
We provide the scholarships in terms of the checks in August, we make the decision in May. And
August, September, right?
Yes.
So when that money come at the end of the year, that don't do not first in that year.
Correct.
There must be some system, and we have to look at the law that says that they have to provide their scholarship money
at a certain period of time.
Within the time frame that you need to have that money by
Agreed.
to disburse it to our children. So if that's missing, that should be a policy. If it's not, we don't have a problem making the amendment to the law.
Okay.
But that needs to, whatever it is, it needs to benefit our children and the program that you're running as you're responsible, or required is the word, to disburse those funds.
Is that something you want us to send to your committee?
No, we could look at it. It's
Okay,
fine.
no problem.
All right, thank you. Senator James. Senator Maurice James, you recognize for your 4 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The discussion that you were having is where I was going because of my concern with the EDC companies and the Department of Education. So the same concerns I have with the Board of Education. I wanted to say to Dr. Calwood that the law says that the Virgin Islands Board of Education shall submit a list of all unawarded and unexpended grants to the legislature not later than 30 days after the end of each fiscal year. So I am curious as to whether that has been done at all, or how many years have you been doing it or not been doing it?
Senator, every year that has been done, the one for this current period, that's the only one you don't have. But every one before that, it's submitted to the legislature.
So you do have a list of unawarded and unexpended
That's
grants.
correct.
So that means there are funds available for the following year. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. The other question I have for you is, I guess what I will do is I will get that from, who is that to when it says at the legislature? Who does that go to?
We usually send it to the Senate President's office, so we could re-forward that to your office, or well, actually to all senators, we'll just send those. Do you want for the last 2 or 3 years? How long you want it for?
I'd like it for the last 5 years.
No problem, we can send that to you.
Okay, thank you. What's the success rate of collections for the loans?
In terms of the
know,
dollar figure, or in terms of the effort and process?
Percentage, like the percentage of people who paid their loans, the success rate that you have 90% of people who have loans pay their loans in a timely manner. Is there any data on your collections?
That's a report that we could generate, but I know it's not 90%. I know that.
I noticed in your testimony, it talks about the fact that with the delinquency, that many borrowers have relocated, changed phone numbers, or are elderly or deceased. In most cases with the loans, you do have co-signers, don't you?
We do.
What about the co-signers? I guess if Well, let you answer.
So in terms of the cosigners, for those individuals that have cosigned, if we can't get in touch with the actual borrower,
1 minute.
we send out to the cosigners too as well. In most cases, the cosigners do respond and pay, or if they are unable to pay, then they make some type of arrangement with the Board of Education.
Co-signers are usually the parents, correct?
Yes, in most cases.
In most cases, yes. Thank you. I will shift now to CTEC. I wanted to ask on page
30
3
seconds.
of your testimony. Quick, Madam Chair, may I just finish with this one question that I have?
You may proceed, Senator.
Thank you. Page 3, where you talk about that you've lost the following programs in both districts at one or more schools, and you go into, to me, what
Time.
are now the needed job skills that we need, both building, construction, technology, carpentry, electricity, cabinet making. Those are now the high demand skills that we need. I also saw, and I asked the Commissioner of Labor about this, and where I'm going with this is, I saw where the Department of Interior had given a grant to Gold Coast Yacht, which was great, in the amount of $400,000. Can this board apply also for those types of grants so that you have access to support the programs that you've lost? Because the reason I called those out is because in his grant, those are the areas that he will be providing training for. So can you please address that?
Yes, I do want to refer part of the answer to Mr. Deuce, but I think that we should look into that probably by filling the position for a grant monitor. I've been in touch with Mr. DeFeeti and Mr. Fenton about this program, and we're going to also see if we can kind of get our students involved in the program. So we've been talking to them about this. So, yeah, and we would like to be able to have grants that we ourselves can administer, but we are going to need a grants person
You
to
need
be
a
in
grants
charge
person?
of that. Yeah, that's part of the budget, that we're requesting the new monies that we're requesting.
Right, because there's so many lost opportunities. And then, there needs to be, and I keep saying this, there needs to be synergy between labor, private training, apprenticeship programs, and your program, workforce development, where the amount of money flowing into the territory is being maximized, and that you're not duplicating your efforts, but in fact, you're each getting funds to support your respective programs. So I would love to see where you're awarded a grant of $400,000, for example. So that's why I went down that road. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the time.
All right. Senator Carrion, you're recognized for your 4 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the members of the Board of Education and Ms. Murphy also and her team. A few questions. So let me ask you, Chairman, Dr. Colwood, 100% of your budget comes from the general fund?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. So none of the funding, the receivables that you receive is used for operation purposes?
No, that's just solely for, in terms of the certification fees that we get, that helps too in terms of paper and stuff that the staff needs to process those application, but everything else is for the scholarship loan and territorial fund.
And in your territorial fund, how much do you have in that account?
Ms. Reimer, you have that number?
No, I don't currently have that amount.
I can pull up in terms of the report from last time and give you that number.
Very well. Yes, that will kind of assist. And I say you have a company that does collection for you, Raveco. What's their role?
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director, that's Grafco.
Grafco.
They assist with determining the balance when the payment is made, the balance, and then generates the balance, the late fee, interest amount.
Okay. They're not directly collecting, making calls. They're just assisting you in the back end.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. What initiatives is the board planning to really get a grip of this collection? Because your collection is very, very weak. What's the plan in regards to that?
So I'll allow Ms. Rima to respond, to tell you some of the efforts that the committee and finance within the board is doing to address some of those areas.
Because if the
And Ms.
system
Bess
and
can help too.
if the system and program works as it is intended to work, it'll be way more beneficial for the students and even for the Board of Education itself. But currently, your collections are poor.
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. Currently, we have 2 loan collection officers. They are working, we have the finance committee, the board's finance committee has asked or has requested that we go back to accounts that are $12,000 and over and try to get those straightened up. We do have
Let me ask you, what's your oldest outstanding account?
1 minute.
5 years, no. I would say maybe 25 years.
25 years. So it's about time you guys do a cleanup and decide what's uncollectible and you know what is not, and write some of those off. The highest amount in loan that you have.
If I can think about it, it may be about 12,500.
12,500.
30 seconds.
So the issue then is that you need more personnel to assist you in collecting. What's really the issue?
Yes, we would need additional. Our 2024 budget, I'm sorry, we did request 2 temporary loan officers, but it's been just a issue because we've done extensive searches, but it is a challenge because
Is it a
the files
budgetary
are
challenge?
old.
Time.
Is it a recruiting challenge or is the funding to cover, what's the challenge?
A recruiting challenge, so.
Recruiting challenge for a loan officer. That's interesting. Well, definitely you guys need to work in that area and provide some. Madam Chair, I do have a few more questions. Maybe I could just 2 more if I may. Thank you. Also, I've saw here, there's 2, I think, students that you haven't awarded their paying. Why is that? The 2 outstanding that haven't been awarded?
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. The CARES Act fund, the OMB received the money and we submit the names of the applicants to OMB. OMB pays that. So OMB has indicated that those 2 have been sitting on their critical list and OMB pays it or submits it to finance, and then finance sends us goes back to OMB and then OMB sends us.
When do you know when it will be awarded?
No, sir.
You guys are following on it to make sure it does.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The last thing is, with regards to your leases, I needed you to clarify for the record, Dr. Clowood, because you state in your testimony that there's a contract agreement with PMP for Cepho Enterprise for the new place that you haven't moved in yet, but the contract was established since 2023. Are you currently paying rent for that space?
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. No, sir. The contract was executed just so that we can hold or have
The space?
priority on the space.
Without
yes, sir.
any payment?
With no payment.
Do you know when you'll be moving into?
No, sir. At this time, the developer, Zepho, has said he doesn't have a date. He's building out the space. He's still building out the space.
Okay. All right, Madam Chair, I don't want to abuse. Thank you so much for your leniency.
Thank you, Senator Carrion. Board Chair, have y'all ever considered conducting an amnesty?
Yes, Senator.
And was one ever conducted?
I will allow Ms. Best to respond in terms of the amnesty. Yes. Tell him about it.
Sandra Best, Interim Executive Director. Honestly, Senator, that was prior my time. I see it on the website where we have requested students to come in if they have a loan. We've been asking students to connect with us if they're not working, if they're, they need a deferment.
Okay, so that's not what I mean. In order for an amnesty to be effective, you have to put it out in the media, calling all Board of Education loan recipients who have not paid. You have to pay it forward because other students need to have the same opportunity that you had, right? And then you give them, you do an amnesty period, what is a month? You have to have a specific period of your amnesty. You advertise it. You send out your letters to all of the people that's outstanding.
Yeah.
And you give them an amnesty period. You decide that you're going to you're going to stay, if they pay within the window, then you have to give them incentive. They don't have to pay the interest and the penalties.
Right.
But that's what you do. You all have to get to an amnesty period. Do you know how much money you have outstanding? Did you say that earlier?
It was outstanding is 1 million to something. It was.
You should be able to collect a good amount of money if you do an amnesty. I really think so.
So
before you get to writing off and all those things, we don't really want to talk about writing off because I don't think you should. I think that we should go through the amnesty period and see what you can collect that's outstanding from the amnesty period, from the amnesty, just forgiving the interest, forgiving the penalties, and saying, look, just come pay your bill. What are your thoughts?
So you are correct. The amnesty period was discussed in the Committee on Finance in terms of execution, in terms of what date they're going to do. That's something they're going to do. I know we have work in terms of forgiving the interest and penalty for individuals that maybe have reached out to the board directly and really wrote a letter or as a proposal to the Committee on Finance to make any decisions in terms of that they can't pay, but they have this amount of money that they could pay. The committee has done those for some individuals. But in terms of a public amnesty, that's something that we're getting ready to do.
When?
Before the end of the year, yes.
Of the calendar year?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
You will definitely see it.
Yeah, that'll help us to generate some funds. We should have been at a closer point of dialing back the amount of the territorial scholarship dollars that we are giving the board because of how much money, you understand? By now we should have been washing it.
Because we actually had several ideas in terms of, if we've been transparent, we have several ideas in terms of the period of getting individuals to pay back. One idea was to put all the names of these individuals in a newspaper, send out public press releases, different things we wanted to do.
Amnesty.
Do the amnesty. Amnesty is just one portion of it. That's only can recoup some of the funds, but we still have to do other efforts to try to get all the funds that we need to pay back.
Stay with me.
I'm with you.
You start the amnesty.
We are ready.
You do the amnesty, then you keep progressively going. You don't do all of them at the same time.
No, I don't disagree with you, Senator. I'm
So,
indicating
before the end of the year?
Before the end of the calendar year, as I promised, that will be done.
We look forward to seeing it. Senator Capehart. Capehart just walked out of the room. She'll be back, I think. She just stepped out a second. All right, so we're gonna need to get from you your update. Have you received your allotment to cover the scholarships for this year?
The scholarship.
Territorial scholarship, individual scholarships.
Sylvanie Reimer, Financial Aid Coordinator. Yes, we have. We received the release of funds fiscal year 2024 from OMB.
All?
Sorry?
All of the funding?
The majority, yes. We are waiting for update on the VI Maritime and the increase for the Caroline Adams.
Okay. And you share with us that the funding that you get from any collections as well as the EDC companies, it goes to a fund at the Department of Finance? Was that shared earlier?
Sandra Bess, Interim Executive Director. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Senator. It is together with it's called the Territorial Scholarship Fund. That's what we put it
So it's
together.
deposit. So do you have a general ledger report on your Territorial Scholarship Fund?
Not currently. I will have to provide that to you, Senator.
So how do you reconcile against what they have and what you have?
When she said not currently, meaning she don't have the report here to give to you, that's a report that we'll have to provide to you. But it's something that we do.
You do
In
get
terms
it?
of with Department of Finance, that's something we have to do internally based on what they have in their system to make sure it matches. Yes.
All right, so could you send that back to the committee?
Yes, that can be sent to you.
All right. No, I am not seeing anyone else, so I don't know if we have any other. I just need to clarify with Ms. Murphy, just clarification on this fund. The purpose of the fund is to do specifically, what's the specifics around the fund?
Honorable Chairperson, the Leadership to Grant Fund will do several things, including pilot the Journeyman Program. It would also support our CTSOs. It would support the emergency needs that we, as far as equipment, that type of thing.
Okay.
I wrote it down. I don't know why it was not submitted to you, but I'll make sure that it does get to you. But it is broken down as to exactly how this money would be used. But it is vital. If we are going to continue with CTE in the territory and the public schools, we need something that directly supports these programs, and right now we don't have it.
Okay, so let me ask you, how do you collaborate or coordinate is the word with the Department of Education with regards to the state CTE? I can't remember what the name of it is.
Perkins?
Say that again?
Perkins? The federal Perkins funds?
Your state reporting or your state application, and then when the funding does come back down to the territory, how do you work with the Virgin Islands Department of Education to determine the cohorts that will receive that support within a respective grant period or grant cycle?
Okay, we do work with the state office for CTE as far as getting understanding of how they are desire to spend the funds. We are supposed to have approval or say as to how those funds are going to be spent. Mr. Dews also plays an integral role in looking at how those funds are spent. However, as you know, federal money can only be spent in certain ways. And for example, travel for CTSOs, that's not permitted with federal funds. Years ago, we were able to use federal funds, not now, to support the travel for our students. Those funds cannot be used to pay for for example, the wages, the per diem for adult teachers, that type of thing. So there's a strict use of federal funds for CT programs, but we do need local funds. There's so many needs that we have, and we do want our CTE programs not only to survive, but to thrive. And in order to do that, we have to have local support for these programs.
Okay, so I understand that, but I was trying to be specific with you when I asked about the collaboration between the Department of Education and the CTE board, as far as what cohorts the federal funds are supporting and what cohorts the federal funds are not able to support. Because we keep hearing that you need additional money for this purpose and that purpose. But the board sets the policies around CTE. And then once those policies are set, then you collaborate with education. When education came before us today, they did not say to us that they have a need for CTE funding to support cohorts that are not being fully complemented with funding, etc. So you're hearing we need this, we need that, but y'all are having the little pots of, I need this for equipment, and I need that for travel. But we need to know specifically how these funding will support cohorts that are not being supported by the federal dollars. And then in that ask, those funds have to go specifically to education and to the respective district that the program the funding is to be supporting. I mean, just based on the law. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I would like to ask Mr. Dews if he could respond to part of that question. Mr. Dews, are you still?
I'm still here. I'm
Okay.
still here. Thank you.
Are you able to respond to the Honorable Senator?
Anton Dews, Executive Director for the Board of Career Technical Education. I certainly tried to shed some light. The Board of Career Technical Education, unfortunately, has no access to the amount of career technical education funding that comes through either the Department of Education or the State Department of Career, Technical and Adult Education. I understand that Dr. Faulkner in the state office works off the Perkins grant. Perkins grant were submitted under the consolidated grant. In that, it was easier for us to submit them timely. However, that does cost us a few dollars in receiving those grants. Again, the state office is really the responsive agency at this time, even though that the law says that the board oversees Perkins. No new state plan has been submitted as of yet. It is my understanding that Dr. Faulkner and her staff are working on the state plan. We have held several town meetings to support the state plan. But again, it is a very small amount. It finances equipment within CTE schools. It finances instructors. It does not speak of any financial support to students. This is our biggest concern. And as I can tell you, I'm sitting here in Orlando right now attending the FBLA convention, where not one student from the Virgin Islands has been able to compete. We have no instructors or advisors from the District of St. Croix. I believe there is one instructor from the District of St. Thomas that received an honor for having 20 years FBLA advisor status. I attended the Skills USA CTSO in Atlanta the week prior to. We had one competitor in culinary. She did very well. Unfortunately, not many people showed up at the airport to have a parade, as we do for football players, but that's a different story. Again, these students were doing their fundraising, which is nothing wrong with that, but they need to be supported by somewhere. Usually they come to probably a senator's office and ask for some help. In most cases, we get the call at the office for help for CTE students travel. The Schultebrand Fund would go and address some of these issues. Again, like I said at the beginning, Perkins funds are for equipment, but again, it's a grant, so the coordinators both in St. Thomas and St. Croix will ask the instructors what kind of equipment they need. That is done ahead of time. It usually comes 2 years later, which means that within the 2 years, there is no funding available to fix a stove, a lift, whatever, a welding machine, until the new equipment arrives. And that's what really the issue is, and that's where the funds really needed, that the board has somewhat of a the ability to support students, to support the instructors, and do those things. But that's all I can tell you. The State Office of Career and Technical Education and Adult Education at this moment is in charge of administering the Perkins funds, and so far we have unfortunately not received details. And we have not received the details from the Department of Education in what kind of funding in their total budget is allocated to CTE. And I get back to Ms. Murphy.
All right. Thank you for your response. I think that this whole Career and Technical Education Board and this State Department of Education CTE matter has been, this sounds like a broken record. We hear this over and over. The legislature's role is not to be the pinch hitter to address that issue. That issue has to be addressed between those two entities. This is about students, and us giving funding to CTE board does not resolve the issues that we have with the lack of collaboration between the two entities, with the lack of education not feeling it important to have the requisite discussions with you. We thought it was improving. We actually thought that there was some improvement in that area. At some point, I wish that we would be able to see, we are here in the middle of a budget hearing, that, this is the state plan, this is how much money we want to spend for these cohorts, and this is what's available, would become available to us from the federal funds, and this is the difference. That's what we should be seeing to make an informed decision. And this is not only from CTE board, but this has to be from education as far as career and tech. And actually, we didn't ask them anything about career and technical education this morning, and we really should have. But what happened is the career and technical education state director was not here. But that's an important piece of this conversation. What are the cohorts for the upcoming school year or the upcoming budget year? What funding is coming down from the federal government? And what, if any, funding is needed from the local government to support this important work? That's the piece that's missing. I know about an instructor in St. Croix who does a lot of good work with his students, and he shared with me that he don't get no funding. He'd have to take the money out of his pocket to buy this stuff to support the children. So that's what we need to be seeing. It's one thing for the board to come and say, we need this for this purpose. What's the state plan? How much money is available? Or what's the consolidated plan? How much is, I'm repeating myself because I want to make sure we're clear. How much is available for the respective school year, and what is the fallout, so we could figure out how much of it we can support? That has never been done. That's missing. So, colleagues, I think we've exhausted our discussion with the two boards. I am not necessarily walking away feeling, like warm and fuzzy about what, we are doing as far as the scholarships are concerned, etc., and how we are utilizing the fund, and that we do have a handle on that piece. But we'll look forward to getting information from y'all, and then we could definitely have a follow-up conversation around kind of addressing that issue. The other thing that we didn't ask for, and one of my colleagues just told me to make sure I ask for it, we need to get a listing of the stipends from each board that was paid out in fiscal year '24 and what has been paid out to date in '25 from the Board of Education as well as the Board of Career and Technical Education. Okay, and that's it. For now, if we have additional questions, we'll be sure to follow up with you. Okay? Colleagues, do we have any other questions? Because the Sports Parks and Recreation is here. Senator Carrion, you recognize.
Just quickly, Madam Chair, I am concerned about how we're monitoring some of these scholarships. For example, I know the Morris de Castro Fellowship Scholarship Program has some requirements in there as I'm looking here at the law. And so I would like, through the chair, a listing of the people who have been granted this scholarship and what is their status. Because one of the points within section 190 established a recipient is awarded shall, upon completion of his studies, be required to work in a territory of the Virgin Islands for not less than 3 years. In the event that the recipient does not return to the territory or work within for 3 years upon completion of his studies, the grant shall become a loan payable upon demand. So we following through monitoring that individuals that receive these type of scholarships, we are getting, the government is, and the board, what's required, our buck for the dollar?
So just to be clear, it's a separate board. They have a Morris de Castro board specific for awarding that scholarship. So the Morris de Castro board will have to, through the Board of Education, can provide the information to you that you're asking for, Senator.
And who does the monitoring? Because they do the awarding. So who does the
they
monitoring?
So
for
in
fulfillment
terms of the awarding,
compliance?
monitoring will be the Board of Education.
Very well. Through the chair, please.
We can provide that to you. So you want the names of the individuals and what else?
And how are you guys monitoring the fulfillment of the compliance of what the law
Got it.
establishes?
We'll provide that to you, no problem.
All right, so the Morris de Castro board is a board within your board?
They have a separate board. For instance, I serve on the board along with the UVI president, the administrator. In St. John, you have personnel director, and then Beverly Joseph from St. Croix.
So the information that my colleague asked for through the chair, you're on the, who's the chair?
I don't think the board has a chair by default, but I'm the one that pulled all the meetings together. I don't have a chair of that board per se.
Okay, so can
So
we
in
get the
terms of
information?
administrative, the Board of Education takes the lead in terms of administrative related tasks, since that board is not given the funding to do that.
Right, so then the question that my colleague asked is the responsibility of the Board of Education to ensure that once that individual.
No, we did agree there. In terms of providing the information to him, I was just trying to just let him know that the Morris de Castro board is what decides of the person getting the award. In terms of the administration, the Board of Education deals with that. And we could provide the documentation he requested with the names and then ensuring that those individuals are meeting the requirements.
So you have a system in place? I think that's what he's trying to ascertain. Do you have a system in place where you are actually monitoring to ensure that they meet the TRIA requirement, et cetera, et cetera? That's the.
In terms of when after they finish, I don't, not specific to that, no.
So no.
No.
So that's something that needs to be, and who appoints the board members?
It's appointed by legislation of the law in terms of who those persons are.
Oh, so it's based on, by virtue of their position?
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Got it. All right, we're going to give you a 30-second close. As the folks for Sports Parks and Rec are here waiting, I'm certain that we have some additional questions, but we will ask you them offline.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and your wonderful committee members and staff. Thank you for affording the Board of Education the opportunity to present our FY25 budget request. We will ensure that we provide the necessary documentation, reports requested of this committee, and will continue to charge of improving public education here in the Virgin Islands community. Thank you once again, Senator Fred Gregory.
Thank you. And we have a few through the chair requests. One is the updated past due amounts on outstanding vendor obligations to include a date of the recent entries. Outstanding obligations, and this is for career and technical education. That was asked of them. Projected salaries for non-union classified employees for FY25. That's the Board of Ed. Actual utilities and expenses. Actual utility expenses to include actual utility and other services category expenses for FY24 and the projections for 25. Updated listing, that's the same thing, projected salaries. Updated personnel listing to include associated fringe, that's Board of Education as well. And listing of all stipends from each board that were paid out in FY24 and 2025 to date for both boards. And the listing of the names, the listing of the names of the Maris de Castro Scholarship and how much has been expended to date? No, I don't think that was the question. It's the reporting and compliance for the Maris de Castro Scholarship, which basically means whether it's when individuals graduate from the program, who's monitoring to ensure that they're meeting the compliance requirements. And we'll send you a letter, but in the interim, you can move forward with working on it.
I have a question. In terms of the stipends, do you want it breakdown by board member or you just want it lump sum?
It has to be by board member. That's the question that I got.
We can give that to you.
Yes. All right. We have exhausted our questions for today. The committee stands in recess for until what time it is right now? 4:30. The Committee on Budget Appropriations and Finance is back on the record. Madam Clerk, can you read block number 3 into the record?
Block 3, Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation. Invited testifier, Mr. Calvert A. White, Commissioner, Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation. This concludes the reading of today's agenda, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and good afternoon to the officials of the Sports, Parks, and Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation. We have Commissioner White here with his supporting cast. Good afternoon to y'all.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. And we're going to ask the Commissioner to put your name and title on the record, and then my right, your left, you put your names and titles on the record, and then the other side will proceed. Commissioner White, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Calvert White, Commissioner of the Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation.
Good afternoon, Carol Peters, Director of Business and Finance Management.
Good afternoon, Vincent Roberts, Assistant Commissioner, St. Thomas St. John District.
Good afternoon, Renee Hansen, Assistant Commissioner, St. Croix District.
Good afternoon, Relina Pell, HR Manager.
Good afternoon, Jamila Henry, St. Croix District Administrator.
Good afternoon, Elroy Hill, Deputy Director, St. John.
Mr. Hill, this reporter did not hear you.
Good afternoon, Elroy Hill, Deputy Director of St. John.
All right. Commissioner White, you may proceed with your testimony.
Honorable Donna Fred Gregory, Chairwoman of the Committee on Budget, Appropriation, and Finance of the 35th Legislature of the United States Virgin Islands, other committee members, non-committee members present, central staff, listening and viewing audience. Good afternoon. I am Calvert White, the Commissioner of the Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation. Before you to provide testimony on the department's proposed fiscal year FY 2025 budget. First, allow me to introduce my senior leadership team, my assistant commissioners, Ms. Renee Hansen, District of St. Croix, Mr. Vincent Roberts, District of St. Thomas St. John, Ms. Carol Peters, Director of Business and Finance Management, Ms. Relina Pell, Territorial Human Resources Manager, Ms. Jamila Henry, District Administrator of Sports, and Mr. Elroy Hill, Deputy Director of St. John. I want to thank our Senior Budget Analyst of the Office of Management and Budget, Ms. Deanna Jeffers, for continued assistance. Through the utilization of parks, facilities for local events, sports tourism, and other forms of recreation for locals and visitors, DSPR contributes to the economic growth and development of the territory. To assist in accomplishing its mission, vision, and strategic goals, DSPR proposed fiscal year 2025 general fund budget is $9,272,040. This consists of $4,916,980, or 53% for personal services, $2,822,209, or 30% for fringe benefits, $248,945, or 3% for supplies, $478,906, or 5% for other services and charges, and $805,000, or 9% for utility services. The SPR proposed FY 2025 breakdown consists of the following. Personnel services is $4,916,980 and broken down into classified positions at $3,846,792. Unclassified at $972,688. Overtime at $58,000. Night differential compensation at $19,500. And other differential compensations at $20,000. Fringe benefits total budget is $2,822,209 and breaking down into employer contribution retirement at $1,073,257. FICA at $304,854, Medicare at $71,298, health insurance premium at $1,317,644, and workers' compensation premiums at $55,156. The supplies budget includes operating supplies at $61,829, vehicle supplies at $80,000, repair and maintenance at $71,316, small tools and minor equipment supplies at $23,000, data processing system at $8,200, and clothing and cloth material at $4,300 for a total supplies budget of $246,945. The other service budget is comprised of debris removal at $7,490, repair and maintenance of $74,487, automotive repair and maintenance at $34,023, rental of land building of $38,400, training of $12,000, communications $78,000, advertising and promotion of $25,000, transportation, which not travel of $6,500, and then travel of $8,000. Bulk airline tickets of $2,500, professional services of $82,506, and the non-operational miscellaneous grants of $110,000, leading to a proposed budget for other service at a total of $478,906. In addition to personnel services, fringe benefits, supplies, and other services, DSPR's proposed FY 2025 executive budget includes utilities budget at $805,000. DSPR proposed fiscal year budget is divided into three divisions: the Division of Facilities, Parks, and Open Spaces, the Division of Sports Parks, Sports and Recreation, and the Office of the Commissioner, Business Office. The Division of Facilities, Parks, and Open Spaces oversees the maintenance of facilities, public parks, beaches, open spaces, and recreational areas under the department's authority. The proposed operating budget for this division is $3,958,342, or 43%. It consists of $1,961,851 for personnel services, $1,287,127 for fringe benefits, $103,850 for supplies, $64,834 for other services, and $540,680 for utilities. The Division of Sports and Recreation organizes, promotes, coordinates, conducts, and develops diverse sports and recreational programs to enhance children's lives and the general community. The department continues offering diverse, unique, and fun programs to the community of all ages. The proposed operating budget for this division is $3,079,055. It consists of $1,802,391 for personnel services, $975,064 for fringe benefits, $40,800 for supplies, $28,800 for other services, and $232,000 for utilities. The Office of the Commissioner, which coordinates, compiles monthly reports, manages human resources and payroll, and plans and develops capital projects. DSPR non-operational miscellaneous provides financial assistance to conduct and promote youth programs, amateur boxing programs, and La Leche programs throughout the territory. The Office of Business and Finance oversees the department's business and financial operations and provides support services to all activity centers. The proposed operating budget for this division is $2,234,643. It consists of $1,152,741, or 52% for personnel services, $560,016 for fringe benefits, $104,295 for supplies, $275,271 for other services, $32,320 for utilities, and $110,000 for non-operational miscellaneous. DSPR has 126 positions comprising 14 exempts, 110 classified, and 2 vacant positions. In the District of St. Thomas St. John, DSPR has 64 positions, 57 of those are classified, 7 are exempt. And St. Croix has 60 positions, 53 classified, and 7 exempt positions. The department's 2 vacancies consist of the following: a lifeguard instructor and a messenger receptionist. Due to budget cuts, the department lost the following vacant positions: a groundskeeper, recreational leader 1, a recreation leader 2, and a recreational specialist. The 2 vacancies are currently budgeted at 50% in the fiscal year 2025 budget. The Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation received a budget cut of $802,178 for the projected FY 2025 budget, which could have significant impacts on the department, affecting various aspects of its operations and service. This budget reduction would necessitate tough decisions and adjustments within DSPR, potentially resulting in reduced services, staffing changes, and deferred maintenance. It would be crucial for the department to carefully prioritize its remaining resources to minimize the negative effects on the community while striving to maintain essential services and amenities. DSPR is fortified by several key strengths and that serve as the foundation of our operations. First, we boast a robust leadership team with a wealth of experience and a shared commitment to our mission. Secondly, the diversity of skill sets within our department enriches our approach. We take pride in the team's innovative spirit, consistently seeking creative solutions to the challenges. The seamless coordination of events and a strong spirit of teamwork underscore our ability to deliver impactful programs and services to our community. Moreover, our commitment to the community is reflected in the diverse array of programs we offer, contributing to the well-being and engagement of the people that we serve. In acknowledging our weakness, we recognize areas where improvements is imperative. Communication is a priority, and we are committed to implementing strategies to ensure timely and effective communication with the public through variation mediums such as social media and radio advertisement. Turning our weakness into opportunities, we are poised for positive transportation, modernizing outdated facilities, presents an opportunity to enhance the quality of services we provide. While collaboration with entities such as the Department of Health and the Virgin Islands Department of Education have proven successful, embracing technology presents an opportunity to streamline operations, improve communication, and enhance overall efficiency. Strategically, planning to invest in sports tourism within the next 2 to 3 years contributes to economic growth and community engagement. Furthermore, upgrading playgrounds and facilities align with our commitment to provide top-notch recreational spaces for our community. Acknowledging the threats we face is essential for productive planning. Challenges such as low salaries affecting recruitment efforts and the lack of equipment and indoor gym facilities pose threats that we are diligently working to address. Storage challenges, procurement process issues, and budget allocation imbalances also require attention. Our commitment to meeting deadlines and managing vendors and contractors effectively is also a priority. Our strategic priorities guide our path forward, securing additional funding to hire more employees and increase wages is imperative to ensure a skilled and motivated workforce. Efforts to secure additional facilities recognize the need for expanded spaces to accommodate our growing team. Exploring various avenues to generate additional revenue, including parking fees, advertisements, and program fees, will contribute to sustaining and enhancing our services. Day-to-day operations As we strive for continual improvement within our department, it is imperative to address the day-to-day challenges that hinder our efficiency and overall functionality. I've identified several key areas that require immediate attention. Establishment of an enforcement division. Relying solely on external agencies such as VIPD, DLCA, and others has proven not to be as effective in meeting our enforcement needs. Therefore, it is essential to create an internal enforcement division within our department. This division will enable us to respond promptly to issues, maintain better control over enforcement procedures, and ensure the safety and security of our facilities, employees, and community. Salary increases to attract and retain talent. To attract highly qualified candidates and retrain our valuable employees, it is crucial to increase salaries. Competitive salaries not only motivate our current staff, but also attract individuals with the necessary skill set and expertise to enhance our department's capabilities. Recruitment of additional staff. Adequate staffing is vital for the smooth operation of our department. We must bolster our team with additional personnel in various roles, including recreation, maintenance, groundskeeping, sanitation, and custodial services. Considering the flexibility and cost effectiveness, the inclusion of part-time positions can meet our staffing requirements efficiently. Addressing these challenges is essential to fostering a cohesive, efficient, and enjoyable work environment within our department. Human resources. In the past 6 months, we have welcomed 10 new hires across various positions within the department. These include an executive administrative specialist, lifeguard instructors in both St. Croix and St. Thomas locations, a sanitation worker in St. Thomas, a youth community coordinator in St. Croix, a recreation leader in St. John, a groundskeeper in St. Thomas, and a recreation specialist in St. Croix. However, during this period, we have also experienced 9 resignations and 2 retirements. Challenges facing the department and personnel include the impact of financial constraints on staffing levels, leading to increased workloads for existing employees. Our department have seen a reduction in staff from an average of 132 to now 119 active employees. Moreover, the lack of upward advancement opportunities within the department and comparatively low salaries contribute to difficulties in retention and recruitment. Many employees appreciate working for the department, but find it challenging to sustain due to inflated cost of living. These issues must be addressed to ensure the continued effectiveness and well-being of our department and personnel. The Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation is committed to improving quality services to the people of the territory and providing the necessary tools to the employees to enhance their performance skills. As such, we have performance goals linked to the key performance indicators, or KPIs, which allow the department to achieve its commitment. Performance goals: to provide activities, programs that encourage community engagement, run by the Bureau of Sports and Recreation. Number of recreational programs, number of adult recreation programs, number of sporting and recreational programs offered for ages 3 to 17 annually, and number of training, clinic, professional developments held per quarter. Means of measurement: number of programs and activities offered per quarter or annually. To ensure that all facilities are clean and safe for use, parks, open spaces, and beautification. A, the percent of unmanned facilities that are inspected and documented monthly. B, percent of staff facilities that are inspected and maintained monthly. And C, the number of days upkeep equipment is offline. Means of measurement: number of work orders, facilities, equipment, and number of facilities rented per month, to ensure that the public is informed about DSPR programs and events. A, the number of community engagement and outreach events held quarterly. And B, the number of department and non-department programs promoted and marketed monthly. Miscellaneous grants. In addition to the Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation proposed fiscal year 2025 budget, the department manages the miscellaneous grant appropriation of $1,877,000 per Act number 8759, Bill number 35-0141. This appropriation offers financial assistance to 48 nonprofit organizations. The allotment to date amount is $124,500 for 7 nonprofits, 14 nonprofit applications totaling $962,500 are at OAB for further processing, and 26 nonprofits have not submitted a request to date for a total of $790,000. Non-appropriated funds. The Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation also manages the following non-appropriated funds. The Casino Revenue Fund. In FY 2023, the SPR received $372,233.56. For quarters 1 and 2 of FY 2024, the department has raised thus far $156,168.25. The Territorial Park Fund. This fund is derived through the collection of parking fees, rentals, and charges for the use of facilities, concessions, open spaces, and recreational facilities, which are under DSPR authority. DSPR have 95 vendor spaces territory-wide, of which 51 are in the District of St. Thomas St. John and 44 in the District of St. Croix. DSPR also have 63 recreational facilities rental spaces territory-wide, 35 in the St. Thomas St. John District, and 28 in the St. Croix District. In FY 2023, the department collected $270,365 territory-wide. To date, DSPR collected $233,445 and projects to collect an additional $55,899 by the end of FY 2024. The department utilized this fund to cover change orders for FEMA projects, local matches, printing and various signs, gas coupons, and etc. The Athletic Fund. This fund derives from the collection of sports and recreation program fees. In FY 2023, the department has collected $113,250, and to date, $83,385 for FY 2024. The Tourism Revolving Fund. The SPR received the release of $500 for FY 2024 and projects to receive $1 million in FY 2025. The Tourism Revolving Fund fiscal year 2024 expenditures are located in the chart below. The department received ARPA funds. The department currently has 3 ARPA grants: video surveillance, solar green charging workstations, and the Health and Wellness Program. The Economic Development Administrator Grants Award. The department was issued 3 sub-awards through EDA, totaling $3,140,083 for the following projects. The Department of Sports, Park, and Recreation Oppenheimer Beach Facility Revitalization and Coast Protection, which is a St. John project that was awarded $1 million. The Department of Sports, Park, and Recreation Coral Bay Recreational Facility, also in St. John, was awarded $500,000. And the Department of Sports, Park, and Recreation Revitalization Retro 10 playgrounds territory-wide at $1,640,083. Training. The Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation will continue to provide the necessary resources to ensure an effective and efficient workforce. Several employees receive youth mental health training from UVI. DSPR will continue investing in its staff by providing them with the necessary skills to develop themselves and succeed in their jobs. Therefore, we have a budgeted $12,000 for training in the FY 2025 proposed budget and will utilize other funding sources, if necessary, for additional training for the entire workforce. Opportunities for the future success of the department. While I am proud of the current programs produced by the Division of Sports, Parks, and Recreation, I admit we can always do more. But doing more comes at a cost. There was a time when DSPR had well over 200 employees. Currently, we're down to 119 employees. We will need additional recreational personnel to promote new and creative programs. With the amount of real estate, facilities, and open spaces under our purview, more groundskeepers are needed to keep up with our facilities, manicures, and maintenance. With a set date of December 2024 of the completion of Parley Joseph Stadium Big Field, we will need an additional 3 recreational staff, 2 maintenance staff, 2 custodians, and 4 groundskeepers to run that facility, and several other unmanned facilities effectively and efficiently as activities and programs could be offered at those locations. In addition to personnel, we will need equipment to upkeep the facilities. With new facilities comes an increase in cost of utilities. Recently, the Clinton Phipps Racetrack was energized and has been added back to the department's list of facilities where funds are needed to maintain the facility. As we saw an increase in recreational programs, inter-island games, and tournaments throughout the territory, the department saw the need to add to its fleet. We have procured 2 vans for St. Croix and 1 additional van for St. Thomas to assist with transportation, to assist with transporting players and teams throughout the island. The added vans allow the department to save on transportation costs during these games and for our summer camp programs. The grounds department recently received additional trucks, 1 for St. Thomas, 1 for St. John, and 2 for St. Croix. The new trucks will allow our staff to cover more areas more efficiently. The goal is to keep this department current and aligned with the country's best practices. In October 2023, Assistant Commissioner Roberts and I attended a Teams conference to learn how to further promote the territory as a sporting event destination. Also, in October 2023, several staff members attended the National Recreation and Parks Association Annual Conference. For more than 50 years, the NRPA Annual Conference has been the premier meeting of the park and recreation community. Annual conference attendees get an inside look at the latest products and services. The department continues to produce programs that the entire community can enjoy. The men and women in our community are making the most of what resources they have to change the lives of the people they serve. In closing, I want to thank my staff. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the dedicated individuals of the Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation for their unwavering commitment to improving the lives of our community members. Your tireless efforts, often extended into long hours, are performed with the deep sense of pride and professionalism that sets our department apart. Each member's contribution, whether in park maintenance, event organization, or program development, is invaluable and deeply appreciated. Your passion and dedication are the driving force behind our department's success, and I want to express my genuine appreciation for your outstanding services. Together, we will continue to make a meaningful difference in the lives of those we serve. Thank you for all that you do. I now stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Commissioner Wade. You sure you want to stand?
Huh?
You want to stand
Or?
to answer any questions? You say you know stand.
Yeah. Or sit.
All right, colleagues, we're going to go to a 5-minute round with the Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation, as we know how important the work that they do is to the youths of the Virgin Islands. I saw a discrepancy in, what did I do with the paper? I want to move on to the next sentence until I could find it. somehow you're off like $2,000. Did y'all see that in the budget book compared to your, I can't remember what category it's in now. Where did I make my note? Did you note that? Is it in, okay, it's in your testimony. That's where it is. So, I think I checked them off. So under your personnel services, $2,829. Your fringe benefits. Your fringe is off. The number in the budget book is $2,822,009, and your number is $2,822,209. So I don't know if that's a typo. It can be. Miss, your fiscal person, help me to just, Miss Peters?
Yes, hi.
It might be a typo because it's different in the book compared to what your commissioner shared.
Okay, I'll verify.
Okay. All right, colleagues, we're going to go to a 5-minute round. We're going to start with Senator Marvin Blyden. You may proceed, Senator Blyden.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Commissioner White and your supporting management team there, and thank you for your testimony. Also, on page 7 of the budget book also speaks to a decrease, you know what, in personnel services and fringe of $148,000 difference also, so you can look into that also. Commissioner, under your professional service contracts, you have 5 of them, totaling $152,000. And they're funded from the general fund. Have all these contracts up to date? Because it's showing payments from 2023 to present, but...
What page are you on?
Page 9 of 36. When... Are these payments annually or?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was trying to find this information.
These contracts, are they annually or?
Trying to follow you.
Page 9.
And what the time frame? Yeah, what the time frame? There's no time frame.
Excuse me, what are you
Page
looking
9.
at the post audit?
Yeah, I said the post-audit report. On a professional service contract, there is no date, no time frame. I was just inquiring.
Hi, Carol Peters, Director of Business and Finance Management. The amount that you see here is the annual payment, but the service itself is on a monthly basis.
Okay, very well. Commissioner White, before I go any further, I need to ask you, in respect to your testimony, when it comes to the parks and other areas, and you have a list in here at the end of the testimony, there's a chart with a bunch of different scope of work, etc. I want to ask you about 2 in particular, the Ezra Fredericks Park and Nada Park. 0 completion. Ezra Hendricks awaiting A&E. And it's showing a date of December 2024. Go ahead.
Calvert White, Commissioner of Sports, Parks and Recreation. So Ezra Frederick is in the A&E stage right now. We was fortunate to get approval to change and do some great things at Ezra Fredericks. We are going to be adding a skate and bike park at Ezra Fredericks, so that's in the design phase. At the Nada Ballpark, a contract was awarded for the work to be done at that facility. The contractor was missing some information to proceed with that contract. Once he supplied that, he'll be given a notice to proceed.
I noticed that with all of these different parks, it's the same contractor.
Not really.
Most of them. It had the same Roy Canton.
No, Roy Canton works for the department. He's not the contractor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
He is the disaster specialist that is overseeing our contracts. He works for the court.
Okay, very well. And you spoke to Your vacancies, you said you have 20, how much, 23?
No, we only have 2 vacancies right now, but we did lose, I think, 7 vacancies once we received the budget cut. But officially, we only have 2 vacancies.
Okay, let's speak to your equipment at the different parks. Do you have a schedule? How do you approach the different parks, fixing the different deficiencies, etc.? And usually how long it takes to deal with those type of situations?
Yeah, so we have a Calvert White Sports Parks and Recreation. So we have a grounds and maintenance crew that goes around to the different facilities in the morning. However, it is our vision and our plan that if we could get sufficient equipment, we can store those equipment at the designated facilities where we don't have to have staff going around to the different facilities. And employees at those facilities would now be responsible for the grooming and manicure of them.
You spoke to having your own security police. What would that look like, and what would be the cost of such an addition to your team?
So when I look at law enforcement for this department, I kind of, look at the officers at DLCA, Port Authority. We receive a lot of calls at our facilities where we have events. The beaches is one of the main problems that we have, where we have a lot of, I don't want to say disgruntled people, but we have a lot of days where we do need enforcement, and we have to reach out to VIPD, DLCA, or Port Authority, which I must say that they do assist the department, but having our own law enforcement would just serve us better as far as time is and reacting to those complaints.
And before my time is called, I know that also in St. John, the community center, what's going on in that space, where we at in terms of the repairs for the St. John Community Center.
I'll let Director Hill give you a little background. I know we're still, I think, about 80% in the A&E completed design, but I'll let him give you some information.
And what the funding source?
There's different funding sources. We're getting money from FEMA, hazard mitigation. We do have some funds in PFA that we're also going to add to that project.
Mr. Hill?
Good evening, Elroy Hill, Deputy Director, St. John. First of all, the funding source we have was funding from PFA, some grants that was written, and I think we have 75,000 from the disaster recovery from FEMA with that project. I think, I don't know for sure, but close to $3.something million.
How much from PFA?
500,000.
And it's in design right now?
Yes.
So it's going to take some time?
Yeah, we're waiting for FEMA right now. Actually, it's in FEMA's hands right now, to speak.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for the time.
Don't worry, we'll be able to let us know. Thank you. Commissioner, let me just ask you quickly before I go to Senator DeGraff. Did you resurface the basketball court in Nada?
I did.
So there was something very troubling that I saw yesterday. You know what it is, right?
Yes, vehicles parking on the surface.
How-
And we have that issue, and goes back to us needing law enforcement. But we have that issue at many of our facilities where individuals just feel that it's not important to them and they park. They don't just damage the facility. What they do is they take away from the children them using the court. We had a big issue like that with Smith Bay where, a lot of the children them would want to play basketball. And we would see cars parked in there. So what we did was we had Public Works put boulders in front of the facilities so now no cars can get into the facility.
The adults in our community have to be a little more responsible. How do you have races yesterday and the people attending the races come to the neighborhood of the people of Nada and park and their basketball court? I see a big problem with that. I was just driving by and saw it. But that's something that if we're having races at the racetrack, that's something y'all got to the patrons know that's not okay. It's just not okay.
I agree with you, son.
Oil leaks, you name it, the damaging and the thing is when our parks are not up, is a bunch of complaining. But we are not thinking about what we're doing to contribute to the damages, to damaging our parks.
Correct.
That's unacceptable. Those people need to they need to be towed. Senator DeGraff, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, testifiers, all of you listening and present. Commissioner, when I heard you talk about budget cuts, we didn't cut your budget, so where them budget cuts came from?
I think all government agencies receive a budget cut.
Okay, done by OMB?
Yes, correct.
Not by us. We're going to fix what we have to fix. So when I look at your personnel and fringe, I calculate the fringe at about 57%. That's basically what your fringe is?
Hi, Carol Peters, Director of Business and Finance Management. And to answer the first question as it relates to fringe, our fringe is actually correct, the one 2008-22-209 that's in our testimony. The fringe in the post audit is the $2,000 short.
Okay.
As it relates to the 57% that you asked, yes, it's correct. OMB started using live numbers and not a percentage. So the fringe is correct according to the positions that we have.
Okay, each individual.
Yes,
okay, so
that's correct.
You had any wage increases in the last fiscal year or the year before that going forward in 25 is being covered?
Berlina Pell, HR Manager. Our last rate increase was done in 2019. Negotiations is coming up this year, though.
Okay, you have any GS employees?
No.
No, okay. So wage increase, what union is that negotiating?
We have Seafarers Union and Steelworkers, supervisors.
Seafarers and which one?
Steelworkers, supervisors.
Okay. Okay. So it still shows that your personnel went down from last year. Were you lost employees or how come the significant going downward, backwards for your department?
The personnel was decreased because of the budget cut that the department received.
So how much vacancies did you lose?
Berlina Pell, HR Manager, 9.
9. Okay, so capital projects 0
Capital projects.
for 25 and 0 for 24. Is the Lionel Roberts Stadium one of your that comes under sports parks? Mm-hmm. Lionel Roberts Stadium is a major landmark and it needs some work. We have funding to address what is federal monies or the local matches or anything like that?
Calvert White, Commissioner, Sports Park and Recreation. We do have some federal funding to cover some of the deterioration of Lionel Roberts, not all of it. We do have a current contract with a contractor. We did receive some FEMA funds to change the lighting in that facility. We did some work to the bleachers, but we did do a structural analysis at that facility and it was deemed not sufficient. So we was waiting for decision to be made by an engineer of whether we can strengthen that facility or it needs to be demolished and built back up.
Okay. Also for the St. John facility, scheduled time frame for that? '25 fiscal year?
With the FEMA projects, the difficulty of giving a timeline is a lot of these, when you move on to different sections, approval is needed from FEMA. A lot of the time you're waiting weeks, sometimes months for a decision to be made. You cannot move on that facility unless FEMA said, yes, you can move on. So that's why it's difficult to give that. But we are hoping that by the end of this year, next year, that facility can do some type of groundbreaking.
Okay, your utilities went down.
1 minute.
What accounted for that?
Again, the utilities went down because of the budget cut. We received a ceiling from OMB and we had to make the necessary cuts across our different objects. So utility was included in that cut as well.
So would that mean lights would have to be off on some of these
Well,
parks?
it's one of the things in my testimony that I said is concerning.
30 seconds.
What happened is, because we are doing a lot of work on our facilities, you're not seeing a lot of traffic going through there. So we're using less utilities right now. However, a lot of sports park and recreation facilities are now starting to be completed, which means that those facilities are going to be coming back online, which concerns us because we're going to have to pay to keep the light and water on.
Yeah, okay, so, and in closing, could I have your present fourth quarter personnel fringe, supplies, utilities, other
Time.
services and charges?
Fourth quarter?
For 24 budget. What's your allotment to date?
The 6 points.
Personnel?
6.7.
No, so that's overall, but break it down for personnel for me. What you have so far for personnel? Fringe, utilities, other services.
Okay, I'll have to get that information
Oh, you have
for
to
you.
get about, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you could, if not now, then through the chair, you could submit that. All right, thank you. Thank you for the time, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator DeGraff. So, what is your actual, or what was your actual utility expenses in FY23? And what are you tracking right now in FY24?
Okay, our fiscal year 2020, Carol Peters, Director of Business and Finance. Our actual expenditures for utilities for fiscal year 2023 was approximately $857,000. We budgeted $923,000 in fiscal year 2024. That was based off of at the time when the budget was being prepared. We based that off of our actuals and estimates, taking into consideration our unmanned facilities. Thus far, as of May of 2024, we have expended approximately a little over $600,000 in utilities.
So you're projecting a savings against your...
The 923.
The 923.
That's correct.
What's your monthly amount?
Our monthly amount is, I'll have to...
If you spend 6, other than 100?
Approximately 100 and a little over 100,000. I can get the amount for you in a minute.
Okay, so we're going to need to get that information from you. Your 24 expenses and then your projections from June. Well, June, you should have already received your June billing. So your June actuals and then your July, August, and September projections. Okay?
Yes, and please note, like the commissioner mentioned in the testimony, the Clinton Fib horse track just came back online, and we haven't received utilities for that facility as yet, but that is under the SPR as well.
Okay, so then that brings me to this question. So when we have races at Clinton Phipps, we currently do not have a promoter, correct?
We don't have a permanent promoter. We have a temporary promoter, which is the department.
Right, so we don't have a promoter.
Correct.
The intent was to have an outside promoter.
Correct.
So we don't have a promoter.
Correct.
However, there are revenues that are collected at the racetrack, correct?
Correct.
Who collects those revenues?
The department. But I could tell you, Senator, it's not a profitable.
I didn't ask if it was profitable. I'm asking who collects the revenues.
The department.
How much revenues have been collected thus far?
For the first race, I think it was 125,000. However, we was in the red from our bills for that race. This race was just yesterday, so I haven't reconciled for that.
So you collect 125K
Correct.
for the carnival races?
Correct. But getting the facility together, I think it was almost about 150K.
And how do you count how do you know that you are generating the correct amount of revenues at your gates? How is that being audited?
You say, how do I know? What do you mean?
How is it being audited? You collected 125K at an event that had how many people?
At the last count, we estimated about 5,500 people at the carnival race.
Okay. All right. That's about right, give or take. Okay.
But while you're on that, the Senator, the plan is to find a permanent promoter so that they would take full responsibility of that facility, to include utilities, maintenance and management of that facility.
Absolutely. So what is happening now to get to a permanent promoter?
So myself, the Horse Racing Commission, as well as the St. Thomas St. John Horse Racing Association, all got together as far as what the territory would be looking for. We sent up an RFP or draft RFP to PNP. We later figured out that instead of doing an RFP, we need to do an RFQ first to find qualified people to run the facility. I am in communication with the evaluation supervisor to get a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Detailed RFQ out to the public so that we can see potential people that is interested in being a promoter.
So we have not submitted the RFQ.
It's a property and procurement. We're working with them to get an RFQ out.
That's what I meant. We haven't put out one.
We have not put out one yet.
It was never the intent when we did the work that we did that the responsibility of running the Clinton E-Phipps racetrack would be that of the government. Because I think I heard Ms. Peters made reference to the fact that, and yourself, that you ended up in the red. So y'all need to look at your expenses. So all of the activities that's going on over there, the security, all that stuff is on you?
Yes.
Okay, so then it means that as you seek out a promoter, you have to figure out how to fall within your numbers. Because the last thing anybody wants to hear is that this responsibility is going to be borne by the government. As you know, you know the energy that came around this particular project. So we have to do everything in our power to ensure that, one, we get a promoter, and in the interim, we figure out how to stay within the lines of the revenues that you're generating. Do you have any of the concessions?
Yes, we have the liquor concessions. However, the food concessions we rent out to.
Which is smart. So you have the liquor concession. So you gotta make sure your expenses, your revenues stay in line with your expenses. Please. Okay, Senator Francis Jr., you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I guess good afternoon to the team SPR. And I want to say that it's not expected that you'll be making a profit on day one of a business opening. So, and there is a number of growing pains as you take on that responsibility. But so I want to really say congratulations, at least 2 successful race day. Of course, Carnival race and then the one yesterday. And thank you for your comprehensive report thus far. Even though you shortchanged me with just a sentence about Polly Joseph Stadium, I'll take it. But can you give us a little bit more meat on the bone in regards to what's happening at Polly Joseph Stadium? I know you've seen a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel about what is expected there.
So first, I want to say that the Department of Public Works have been just awesome in assisting us with this project. Tawana Nichols, who's the engineer who's leading this project, is toe-to-toe with us. We did receive that the estimated timeline for the big field, completion of that will be at the end of the year. And I'm just solely talking about the big field, not the Terrence Martin or the Festival Village.
Can you explain that a little bit in terms of big field compared to
so for those that don't know, the Polly Joseph Stadium consists of 2 different fields, which is the big field, the main field, and the Terrence Martin field, which would be the smaller field. In addition, we did come back to the Senate for an a la carte for some additional things to include the festival village. In speaking with the contractor, we think that we will have the completion of the big field by the end of the year.
Okay. And of course, thank you again, because I think that you answered a lot of my questions I usually ask about the revenues. You gave a detail of the revenues that's coming into sports park and recreation. Are you having success in making sure that they're timely deposited and that there's good accountability for the revenues coming into SPR?
I'll let my financial person answer.
Yes, we have an internal procedure in place, and our deposits are made within 24 hours of collection.
Very well, thank you for that. So you spoke about the enforcement aspect of your division, and I could see the need for it, but I think it's critical that you're able to develop a white paper or some type of feasibility study, because there's a tremendous amount of culpability, liability, and responsibility that's coming with the law enforcement agency, law enforcement component to your agency. You know, I've done it for a number of the various agencies, and we really want to take a look at that. And so I think it'll be a good idea if you could submit a white paper on that, and then a determination could be made on moving forward on that. The Franklin Powell Park on St. John has now turned into a vendor's plaza, pretty much. I got some complaints over there during the food fair, and as I've been over there over the last few days, that the community feels a little bit disenfranchised about not having access to the park. What is being done is are you going to move towards relocating the vendors plaza to some period of time, or there's some level of permanency of the vendors in that park?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Calvert White, Department of Sports Park and Recreation. So it was never the intention to use the Frank Powell Park for vendors. If you look at Frank Powell, like Emancipation Garden, you don't see vendors in the Emancipation Garden. That's why we have Vendors Plaza. I think what happened, and in doing my research, in the early 1900s, there was a gentleman who started an art fest or an art show at the park. So it was only used for special events where you would see vendors in the facility.
1 minute.
During former Commissioner Cruz's tenure, he started to allow vendors within the park on a daily basis. When I took over in 2019, and in speaking with the historic preservation, because it is in a historic district, we decided to downsize. So under the Authority of Sports Park and Recreation, we have about 10 vendors that utilize the park. But it's not an everyday use. They do it, I think, 3 times a year. The problem is doing festival in St. John, you see about 15 to 20 additional vendors who are not under the jurisdiction of Sports Park and Recreation. They are under the division of festival. So those are festival, we partner with them, we allow them to use the facility. But again, it's just for the carnival season. After carnival, they're supposed to be removed from there.
All right, I actually take a good look at that because there seems to be some level of permanency. These individuals don't even just set up and just leave their stuff there during the course of the night or whatever and just move there. So they've been there for quite some time. The last several times that I've been there, I've seen the very same vendors in the very same location.
I'll have a conversation with Mr. Turnbull from Festival. I know Commissioner Roberts and Mr. Turnbull have talked about those vendors being there and mandating that they follow our rules and regulation that the department have. But we'll have that conversation with them.
Okay. I'll ask Mr. Hill to also take a look at that because that is a situation. I'm sure you get the complaints, right, Mr. Hill?
Yeah, will do.
Real quickly, Madam Chair, if I may just wrap up with at least 2 more real quick. In regards to your resignation, are you doing exit interviews to determine what's happening in that space? I mean, we see natural government where there's a lot of people that seems to be resigning and moving on. Is there any particular trend that you see developing here with these resignations?
Berlina Pell, HR manager. Yes, due to salary, low salary, people want to move on because they get better opportunities.
Yeah, I figured that was the case, and I'll tell you that your salaries are pitiful, especially when you talk about your groundskeeper.
Yeah, if I may add to that, Senator, so the starting salary of a groundskeeper or a rec leader for the department is $27,000. we have lost a number of good employees, and I'm talking about athletes who love what they do, solely because of the salary. And for some reason, we seem to always lose them to the fire department. I have a lot of athletes who are now firemen, and this is no knock on that profession. But I knew if we had a competitive salary with the fire service, they would rather be with the department. But when you're talking about a difference of $10,000, it's a no-brainer for you to choose and go work with fire EMS.
And you're also competing with construction workers. You have, today, laborers are making $250 to $300 a day there, so I'm sure that you're losing some of those to that. What is the status of your grants? I know that you spoke about your grants here, but you didn't give us a status of those grants that you have received, the $1 million, the $500,000, and the 1.6. What is happening with those grants?
So the 1 million, I think, is for Oppenheimer. That is, I think, 90% completed, Ms. Ayla? 90% completed in A&E. The 500,000, which is for Coral Bay, we really wanted to put a recreational facility on that end of the island. We did recognize that there wasn't nothing for children to do on that end. So in communication with the Commissioner of Education, me and her was going to come up with a plan to put some type of recreational facilities on that end. And then the last one was the cameras that we wanted to put throughout all of our facilities. That contract was awarded, not the contract, the contractor was selected, but a contract was not awarded.
Thank you for that. And of course, my time has expired, and the chair has been more than lenient. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the time and opportunity.
Thank you, Senator Francis Jr. So let's go back to the Paulie Joseph Stadium. So we recently got an update from the Commissioner of Public Works with regards to where things are. And of concern to us, and myself in particular, is we know that we have spent a large sum of money, funds, for the Paulie Joseph Stadium, which is not an issue. But what we want to know is what is our return on this investment. And I know that a few years ago, when I became a senator around 2019, we had a discussion about beginning to feel out the sporting arena on the national level to, make a determination as to what do you call them? What teams will be interested in coming to the Virgin Islands, to St. Croix in particular, to actually, for their training, etc. There isn't really, I didn't hear in the discussion a hard date certain. Of course, the goalposts can move as to when this facility will be completed, which is frustrating. But I want to know from your end, what type of conversations have you been having with external individuals, external teams, with regards to the potential opportunity that we have here in the Virgin Islands that should come online shortly? Because that's important. We need to be able to show that we've been doing our due diligence in the interim. Look, we have this available. It's coming online XYZ time. It may change, but we need to be having those discussions. We shouldn't wait until, this project is completed. So I'd like to hear from you what have you all been doing to, secure potential training teams here on the ground?
So I think when you use the word secure, I think it's difficult because of what you just mentioned as far as the goalposts continuing to move. Anytime you have an event organizer looking into a potential destination, they do their research. So they see that this facility has been going on since 2012. They see that the post keeps moving back and back. And I think that's part of the difficulty in us getting commitment from some of these organizations as far as them coming to the territory. I have no doubt in my mind, Senator, once that facility is completed, myself as well as both of the assistant commissioners have gone to conferences where people we want to come to the Virgin Islands, we want to come, we need to see what it is you guys have. So I don't have no doubt that we can get people to use the facility. The problem is just getting the facility finished for people to come in.
So what's that discussion and collaboration between yourself and the Commissioner of Public Works with regards to when?
Yeah, they push. I mean, like I said, Tawana, who's the engineer, who's in charge of this project, she's a bulldog when it comes to this project. You know, we have a contractor that we're working with to get this completed, and I think if we can at least get the big field, I think we can start now organizing some events at this facility. I mean, I know, A.C. Hansen, you have spoken to a couple of people in the mainland about, you know, different baseball and softball, so maybe she can speak to what that conversation sounds like.
Well, she don't have to, because there isn't anything concrete as far as us knowing when we could see some light at the end of the tunnel. That's concerning because you know, many of you are here athletes, so you know that when the Olympic is deciding to go to a particular city, that city is not built up. That city ain't ready. However, once they win that bid, once that city wins that bid, that city begins to prepare. And we should not treat this Paulie Joseph Stadium opportunity no different. We have to push, because if we don't push on it, then this contractor that's been allowed to hang out here forever and ever, amen, will just continue to linger. So from my perspective, there should be some collaboration between yourself, the leadership is the word I'm trying to use, and the leadership of the Department of Public Works with regards to where are we going with this and what we can do externally. It's a serious matter. We have spent, I think it's 40-something million on this thing.
I think we're there yet.
Is it 30-something?
I think well,
But
32.
32, you're right. You're correct. It's about 32. And then there's going to be another ask for another component, which isn't really the piece that they do for the festival, the festival piece. But 30-something million, that's a lot of money. We have an opportunity, though, to actually make good of it. And, you know, it's all about how we prepare to do that. That's my pet peeve.
And I follow you. And I think we can start having those conversations now. Most events start planning their events 2 years out. I am confident that within 2 years we'll have a functionable Paulie Joseph Stadium. So I think we can start having those conversations as far as getting teams from the mainland to the territory. I'm on the same page with you.
That's my point. I am very serious about it. I think it's something that's very doable, and to get ahead of the 8 ball, then, you know, we end up looking like we're planners. We have to do some planning. That brings me to, are you aware of the interests of the Federation of Track and Field about holding a track and field event?
I am.
You are, right?
I am.
Yeah, we had a conversation. I think you were in it. I can't remember.
I stay close contact with the Track and Field Federation. They do have a miscellaneous allotment that comes to us, but we did talk about bringing in a number of teams from the mainland to the island of St. Croix, and we also talk about refurbishing the track at the Ivan Udorakin to do a big track meet there. So I am familiar with what you're talking about.
Okay, so how serious are these discussions? Because we did have a conversation with, God, his name escapes me, St. Croix. He lives in St. Croix. He's the Federation. Smith?
Michelle Smith.
Yes.
Michelle Smith's father.
Yes.
Very serious. As a matter of fact, we spoke with the organizers that currently holds that same track meet, I think, in the Bahamas. And they're looking to move it from the Bahamas to the Virgin Islands. So we have had serious conversations.
Yeah, because you are aware that we have a world-class track at Ivana Udorakin School that the government spent millions of dollars on, somewhere about 2008, 9, 10, somewhere around there. So I'm certain that at this point the track needs to be refurbished. But what we need to do is we have to begin to put our money where our mouth is. If that's something that will generate revenues, hotel stays, etc., then if we have to make an investment around it, that's what we should do. So in speaking to him, we haven't heard back from him, but I think it's a great venture for us to participate in, and it also gives an opportunity to get some upgrades at that track for those children at that school once the meet is over. It's just, again, back to what we talked about with regards to the Olympics and the preparation out. All right. Senator Fonseca, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Greetings to the Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation. Well-prepared budget, easy reading. Okay, so the recommendation is $9,272,040, but there's a budget cut of $802,178. We're looking at all the departments. Some departments don't have a cut, but this Parks and Recreation has a big cut, almost 10%. So you have 119 employees, you have 9 vacancies. And all the vacancies are 100% budgeted, you said?
2 vacancies.
Okay.
We lost 9 positions.
Oh, you lost 9 positions. The 2 vacancies are 100% budgeted?
No.
Budgeted at 50%.
50%. Okay, competitive salaries. When was the last time a wage increase was given in this department?
Verlina Pell, HR Manager, 2019.
2019. So I think you're a little bit behind on that too. So that's not looking good because we already discussed that your starting salary for the ground maintenance guy is $27,000, which is less than $13 an hour. So then you got to look at revenues. You mentioned the Parks Fund. You collected $233,000. You projected $55,899. So you're going to get $289,000, but that's already utilized. Your athletic fund program fees, $83,000, that's used. Tourism revolving fund, you're projecting $1 million. Is that already allocated?
So yes, we received, for the last couple of years, we received $500,000, and for 25, we're receiving $1 million.
Okay. Okay, so we got to look at additional revenues. You mentioned the parking fees. What is the plan? How do you plan to get additional revenues? How much can you get from the parking fees, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I think we have a number of facilities where if we installed, and we've talked about this now for quite some time, a parking arm where people actually pay to come in and leave the facilities. We kind of had a big vision of us putting a parking garage at the Emile Griffith parking lot. But, in doing some research, you look at the Red Hook parking lot. In the first 3 years that they just collecting parking fees, it paid for itself.
Right.
Parking is something that, continues year after year. And we do know that we have a parking situation, a parking issue in the territory. So I think if we could somehow, get a 2-story parking or something like that. We did look at the Emile Griffith Park. There's some other facilities that we talked about putting parking arms where people would pay. That's additional funding source for the department.
I think that's a very good idea. Real quickly here, it's Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation. The governor had signed in where we got the parks part, and is there any federal funding available? Had you looked into that as far as the parks?
We have received, I think, in 2020, we did go after some federal grants. I think we got 1 or 2. That's how we got our garbage truck. The issue with a small department is this: is first finding somebody to write the grant. We didn't have a grant writer. Fortunately, at the time, Miss Henry came from a background where she knew how to write grants. So she wrote that grant for us, and we did receive the monies to buy a brand new garbage truck. But the issue again is just personnel, not having anybody to write the grants for.
Well, it seemed like Ms. Henry is pretty good. So I would encourage you to continue using the skills of Ms. Henry. Okay, right quickly before
30 seconds.
Before we finish up, the miscellaneous grants, those 48 nonprofit organizations, there's several of them hasn't submitted a request, like the Boys and Girls Club, 150,000 each, that's 300,000.
Correct.
The Swimming Association, 55,000. You mentioned the track and field, so that's covered. What's the status of that? They just late?
Yeah, so since we submitted that list, it has been updated. A lot of the times the issue is just accountability receipts, them trying to locate them to turn them into the department. I have an individual who manages our miscellaneous, and unless you have all your receipts, she is not processing your release and allotment. So a lot of the times they just need to get the documentations together. But again, since we submitted that, some of these people have either applied for their release or have been granted their appropriation.
Madam Chair, I just have one additional. Okay. Quickly, you mentioned Polly Joseph, you're going to need 11 more employees. I want to ask you about the Clinton Phipps racetrack. The prizes comes from your budget or it comes from someone else's budget? And do you collect from the parking? How do you generate revenue? I know it's a losing event, but you pay for the water, all of that is free now?
So that's a great question. You know, part of the agreement that the government had with Southland Gaming was they are required to produce $600,000 a year for purses. In addition to that, we do receive funding from the lottery specifically for purses. So that's where that money came from. There was a great private stalwart and decided to assist us with the event. Didn't have to, but they did. But that's where the purses came from.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, for the additional time.
Sorry, I just I saw the look when I turned around. I must put on the record that I also got additional sponsors from various people in the community, to include the 35th legislature for one of the purses. So I apologize for missing that. I saw that look that you had, Senator. That's why when I turned around, you were staring right at me.
Yeah, but it wasn't for that. It was a text that I just got. But you said to include the 35th legislature, but that's
what
not
we are now.
Quite the case. To include
So
members.
let me correct myself.
Yes.
It wasn't the entire 35th. There was, I think, 6 members from the 35th that each put up funding for the Administrators Cup.
Okay, I'm glad that you put that on the record.
You're welcome.
I'm happy that you put that on the record. Okay. And I'm certain that you all are working on improving how you put out your booklet, because apparently there were some challenges with the legislators that actually sponsored one of the races. I was one of the sponsors, and the booklet just happened to have my name under the race, but there was another section of the booklet that spoke to all the sponsors. So could you speak to exactly what happened
I'm going to be honest with you, Senator. Having the first race in, what was it, 7 years, 8 years, since 2017, it was an enormous task, not just on the department, but just all involved, the commission, the Horsemen Association. And it wasn't nothing intentional. A lot of stuff was done last minute. You are correct. On the purse itself, had your name, but it was corrected in the back where we listed all 6 senators who sponsored the race. Again, wasn't nothing intentional. That was done.
And I understand that, y'all were just, like you said, getting back to races. There was a lot of to racing, horse racing, so there was a lot of excitement around it. But I'm glad that you put that on the record. Let me just ask a question. So you spoke about retail space that you rent. You lease retail spaces, correct?
Do we lease?
Yes.
Yeah, our office in St. Croix, we are leasing.
So no, that's not what I mean.
What are you asking?
The vendors.
Oh, the vendors.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, the vendors. So you have you have a couple of vendors where you lease out spaces to
Correct.
them, right? And those funds that you generate, you're supposed, how much, based on, if you were to receive all of your dollars tied to your leases, how much money would you generate on an annual basis?
I have that information. 1 minute, 1 minute.
While we're at it, while she's looking, let me just ask you. Once you receive those funds go into the general fund, or it's a special fund? How are those funds recorded?
Those funds are posted into a special fund, the Territorial Park Fund.
The Territorial
Yes.
Park Fund. You have the number? You could give it to me when you find it.
Okay.
Just no hurry. Okay. All right. And you use those funds for what again, did you say?
So as of late, what we've been doing, because the Territorial Park Fund, we a lot of our projects where we have to use that 10% coverage for our facilities, we've been using that fund for that 10%.
Okay. All right.
No, I wrote it down.
Senator, carry on. You recognize for your 5 minutes.
She said.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioner. Just on that same subject, so that fund, you guys report it within this budget process as receivables? So it's identifying this budget that you guys are presenting?
No, it's not.
Okay. And why is that?
We usually do not, or OMB do not ask per se for our projections or revenues.
It needs to be
We don't-
identified. Because we need to know. So going forward, it needs to be identified as revenue that comes in and needs to be identified as a percentage within your operating budget, what is used for. So it needs to show coming in and going out. Regards to the courts, I think there was actually before. I know we had some issues with the contractor that was before. Some of the courts were damaged. You saw them cracking. The contractor was supposed to redo those courts. What's the status on that? Because that's our money.
So the contractor that was awarded was territory-wide. All of the courts on St. Thomas, St. John are completed. We were able to do, I think, 5 courts on St. Thomas. We did have some, on St. Croix, about 5 courts on St. Croix. We have an additional 6 to complete.
That he has to complete.
They have to complete.
Okay.
I think as of late as last week or week before, we did speak to the contractor as far as getting his truck from St. Thomas to St. Croix to finish those courts. I will say we've been in a back and forth with this contractor for some time to come in and finish this. But
they need
as
to
of
be
last
finished.
week, we did say that we were trying to get his truck from St. Thomas to St. Croix to complete the remaining courts.
Okay, because he was paid in full for all of it.
Well, no, he's not paid in full. He's
Okay.
only paid for what he's completed.
So those that are damaged.
The ones that was damaged, he was paid for,
He was
but
paid in
he
full.
did recognize that he needs to come back and do
Fix
those.
them. Okay. So with the Poly Joseph Stadium, what's the holdup right now? That you don't see activity happening?
I can't speak for the contractor. There's days when we go there and we see a lot of contractors, a lot of workers there. And then there's days you go there and you see
weeks
4
you go
people there.
Then you don't see anything happening.
Yeah,
But then who holds this contractor accountable for what's
like
in
I
the
said,
contract?
DPW has been. Yeah,
Sorry.
my fault. DPW has been again. They're the engineer of records who is managing this project. And I know Ms. Nichols have been very aggressive as far as them completing their timeline and staying on their project schedule.
Well, I'll tell you, DPW was here, and they didn't speak on Apollo Joseph Stadium because they said that you would speak on it, and you would provide all the details, which I found it a bit kind of strange.
In fairness, it is a DSPR project, and I did speak to the commissioner about that, and he said he would leave it out of his testimony for us to speak on it. Like I said, I work really close with DPW as far as the progress of that project.
Are you coming back to us for money for that project?
No.
Okay.
Not that I know of right now.
It'll be completed this year,
The big field.
the big field.
Yeah. Not the
So
entire
this
project.
contract had no timelines on it.
Well, there is a project schedule.
And are there penalties or anything for not fulfilling the timeline schedule?
Yeah, within your contract, I think there is penalties for not completing that.
And are we following through with that?
I
Because we have an issue in the territory. We don't hold anybody accountable for anything. And things don't get done and things just slip on the side and nothing happens. That mentality and that way of operation just has to stop.
1 minute.
Because you have contractors then that come and take advantage because we have that reputation. Somewhere along the line, we need to hold these contractors accountable for what we're binding into a contract with. There's
agree.
breach, there's violations, there should be penalties.
I
If
agree.
not, then they're going to just continue to do the same thing to this government.
Yeah.
So it has to stop somewhere. Just moving right along. Let me get out of that. With regards to the increase
30
you
seconds.
mentioned, so one of the issues you're having is salary increase. Do you have a plan then to deal with that issue with retention?
Relina Pell, HR Manager, Senator. They're classified employees, so therefore they have to go through the union contract. Right now, Sufera's union having negotiation the week of July 22nd.
So Joe, my question, sorry to stop you. What role do you, Commissioner, in your department play in this process? Because you're the one being affected. So, I hear commissioners and directors say the same thing. We need
Time.
better salaries. People are leaving because of the salaries. It's a negotiation process, but it's your department being affected by it.
Correct.
So what active role are you playing in the process,
So
or
I-
do you play?
So I think what we've been doing as a senior team is looking for position titles that have a higher salary. We just had a meeting last week, and doing away with some of the older positions and finding new positions that basically have the same job scope. So for example, a recreation leader one, which may be $27,000, moving that person to a recreational specialist, which is kind of doing the same thing but at a higher salary. Those are the things that we have been doing throughout the territory.
Okay, finding creative ways to try to increase it, because you hired 10, but you lost 11. Okay, and just for the record, one of the issues I've been seeing lately is the fact that some of the agencies that are receiving cuts are agencies that have to deal with children and youth and program activities. I just have to put that for the record. And other agencies that don't provide those services, some of them don't have a ceiling or have increased in their budget. And we have to take a look at that, Madam Chair, because I think that's unacceptable. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Carrion. We're going to close in a few. I see the stenographer's looking to change, but we're going to move to wrap up this meeting. But the reduction in your personnel, how many positions is that? You have a 369,000 reduction.
That's 9 positions.
Relina Pell, HR Manager, 9 positions.
And those are 9 vacant positions? That's the vacancies, so that's what I'll give you 9, 10,
They were
11?
vacant, but we lost them due to
You didn't
budget.
lose them yet. The recommendation is for you to lose them. We need to send you need to send us a listing of what those 9 positions are, in addition to the other 2 that are currently vacant. And the other thing that's troubling about how this was submitted is, realistically, how in the world can you fill your 2 vacant positions that were given to you when in fact they were only funded at 50%? That's mean you got to wait until half the year to fill all of them. Because either though you could wait, you could fill one and then the other one don't get filled. So you have to have some, every department, it can't look the same for everything. Some things require a little more thought process in order to make it work for the respective agency. Send us the update. With regards to the associated fringe benefits, we have to go back to the Office of Management and Budget to get what these fringe benefits are. I know some departments don't, all of them don't look the same because The higher amount depends on whether you're single or family with your insurance. So we got to figure out how to balance that. And then I see that your supplies were cut some 74,500. Why? What is it that you don't need anymore?
Well, Carol Peters, Director of Business and Finance Management, we need everything, but we was given a ceiling and we had to make the necessary cuts across all the objects to come back to the ceiling. Now, we have some non-appropriated funds that we plan on using if necessary for supplies and other services.
Okay, so you need to provide us with a listing of your non-appropriated funds and the current balances.
And the Territorial Park Fund?
No, not, you can send it back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't have to give it to us now.
Okay.
And then, Commissioner, I was born, bred, and raised in Roundfield. And the situation that's happening with the ballpark there is not good. It has changed the entire face of that community. We gotta bring back that community. That's one of the original St. Thomas communities in this district. I heard you providing an explanation to Mr. Savanero, Senator DeGraff, but I'm still trying to figure out what is the holdup with us bringing back Lionel Roberts Stadium. I mean, it got Roberts ready. What's the holdup? No, I'm serious. I mean, listen, when my father come from St. Croix to St. Thomas, they lived in a bus right on the side of Lionel Roberts Stadium. We gotta fix the stadium. It has to be fixed. We can't keep, this is 7 years in. That's the stadium we look forward to for lots of our activities. It's just not fair. In addition to the fact that it has caused that community to become a depressed community because there's no activities taking place there. So you have children living in that community, there's a whole lot, but there's nothing for them to look forward to anymore. So talk to me.
So the statement as far as no activities happening there is not quite accurate. There's plenty of activities still happening in our facility. As a matter of fact, after being dormant for several years, we just started back, just started back doubling in our facility. We are still utilizing the facility. Baseball is still being played in there. Football is still being played in there. We have 1, 2, 3 summer camps in there right now.
When we get fixed.
Say that again?
When we get fixed.
We're in the process of doing that. I know the new LED lights have already been ordered. The contractor showed us that the other day. I'll be honest with you, Senator. My opinion, the field needs to be demolished and fixed back to a new field. It's an old facility.
Then fix it.
I agree with you. We did do, like I said, a structural analysis, and it concerns us. The integrity of that structure really, really concerns us.
So that's why
I'm no engineer, but we're waiting for the engineers to come back and let us know. Can we strengthen this facility, or we need to demolish it and build it back?
So is that the reason why we don't have carnival type activities in there anymore? Because
not at
you're
all.
concerned
Not at
about
all.
the...
And I'm glad you asked that. Let me put this on the record. We have never stopped carnival activities from being held in that facility.
Good.
I've never done so. The issue that the department had with carnival was when they built a stage in the facility. When they removed the stage out, the amount of nails that used to be left behind. But we have never stopped carnival activities. I don't know where that came from, but myself, Assistant Commissioner Roberts, have never said we cannot have carnival activities within the facility.
That's good to know.
What we did say is let's find an alternative to building the stage so we don't have to use water and use nails. Because I'm talking about thousands of nails that the department now going after, and we have to pick up off the field.
Okay, what about the direction of the, I don't play baseball, mature and them did. The direction of the field, because I think the direction is facing the sun.
Yeah, I'll let Vin.
What's the conversation around that? It can't be willy-nilly, leave it so, don't tell me that. If we are making changes, our changes are supposed to be for the better.
Vincent
Mr.
Roberts, Assistant Commissioner. I knew several years back they had a charrette which turn the field around. I think the home plate ended up being down by the fish market side. So I know they had a charrette, so that's part of the plans if they ever decide to demolish it and rebuild it.
That's an important staple to this district. I'm going to talk to you some more about it, Commissioner White. You have some FEMA dollars, but I suspect that your FEMA dollars cannot do everything. That's what the concern is?
Yeah, I think if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And if we're going to change the field, that now change where the bleachers are. So one way or the other, we have to knock it down. So I think we need to come up with a comprehensive,
Yeah, we can't just fix it to
about
fix it. Your infrastructure has to be for the better. It has to be for the better. We have to know that we receive funding for this, and this is what a new look is.
Yeah, Assistant Commissioner Roberts made a good point. One of the issues around there is the mahogany trees that are damaging the facility. We know that them trees ain't going no place. So that's a concern of ours. The roots are starting to grow into the facility and are cracking the infrastructure.
Well, if that's happening and it's cracking the infrastructure, we have to get the what do you call them, the abatomists coming out and handling. We have to do what we have to do. We can't continue to see that community and that particular battlefield in the condition it's in. It's very heartbreaking. It is. It's heartbreaking.
I agree with you. But I do, like I say, want to put a record. There is still plenty of activity happening in that facility.
Okay, your point that on the record that there's plenty of activity. No problem. I will correct that. We need to fix it up to the 21st century.
Agreed.
That's what the issue is.
Agreed.
Let's get it done. And then going back to the vendors in St. John that my colleague brought up earlier, there is, I don't know if you are aware of the conversation that's occurring with the Department of Property and Procurement and a business owner on St. John, but there's an opportunity for Vendors Plaza somewhere not too far from that space. Are you aware of that?
I am not aware of that.
That conversation been going on forever. It's like we don't have analysis to paralysis.
I am not aware. I knew they wanted to move the vendors over by what you consider the old lumberyard.
That's below the old lumberyard.
Below
The same space. Exactly.
Okay. That was the conversation that we have. However, I'm hearing that there's a new business supposed to go there now.
Okay, so these are things that we have to think about because, the footprint in Crewsby is small. And we do have to make sure that we also ensure that there is economic development, economic opportunities. So you can't just shut down the vendors, but you have to figure out, what works best for the space. I know there was a lot of conversation when we did the cultural center, and I'm certain that now the conversation is around the land and water use plan, that all those things will come into play. So, while we're hearing concerns about it, there must be a clear, comprehensive approach to what we're trying to do. And of course, that don't necessarily lie in your hands, but you have to do what you have to do in the interim. Okay, so we asked you for some information. So we're going to close because I think everybody has asked their questions. And I know that the one thing I have to commend you, and I remember when I started out as a senator, like in 2019, 2020, when you were working on when we were doing the nonprofits, there was a lot of issues around it, and your department has improved significantly on how you account for the nonprofits, how you issue the nonprofit dollars, etc. So I have to commend you on that.
Yeah,
that's definitely work. Who's the person responsible for it?
Miss Rifa, Esther Rifa, and Miss
Yeah.
Bugano in St. Croix.
Yeah.
They do an awesome job with the nonprofits. I do want to add that every year we submit to this body a number of nonprofits that don't request their funding. However, we see them being placed back on it. I know there's some great nonprofit organizations that are really, really seeking some funding. Off the top of my head, the St. Croix Junior Dragster Program.
They have to send in their requests. That's what they have to do. And I agree with you that, this year we're going to have to really take a different look, a harder look at that and make some different decisions because you can't keep running the same nonprofits year in, year out, and they're not applying for the funding.
Correct.
So I agree with you.
And the department also will be sending in the same request for the RBI program.
We sent it already.
Oh, you already sent it?
Yeah, we sent it already.
You know,
Okay.
I tell people all the time, you know, although basketball is my sport, softball within the last 3-4 years is probably at the pinnacle of sports now, and we really want to keep that going and help out that program. So we will be sending in a request for that.
And the one thing I need to ask you to really take care of for us is the, I don't even know what to call it, Little League, East, West, McBean. We got to clearly know who this money going to. When we put it in our budget, we need to clearly know when we place it in our budget that we're using the right name, because we just had made a change to one of our, I think it was West in St. Croix. Well, I'm probably saying the wrong one. We changed that to some other name and girls softball or something.
It was
We
St.
gotta get it
Thomas.
straight.
It was St. Thomas. Elrod Hendricks and Alvin McMead merge, becoming McHen.
No, it wasn't St. Thomas. That's not the one I called
That's
you
not what you're
about.
talking about?
And when we spoke to the gentleman who's
district administrator.
the district administrator, he was like, they ain't got no name, say McHen. So we gotta get it straight. Please, let's get that straight for this upcoming fiscal year. When we call for that particular line item, we need to get the right name. So there was a couple of through the chair requests. The utility expenses for FY24 in total, and then 25 utility expenses up to June, and then the projections out to September. So we could get a true number as it relates to utility expenses. And then the updated listing to include your 9 vacant positions. Your 9 positions that are not funded here in 2025, and then you have 2 others, so that's 11, correct? And then, and the listing of all your non-appropriated funds to include the amounts. Okay?
Excuse
We'll
me,
send you a
I have
letter.
the information, but I guess we can send it in for
Yeah.
the fiscal year 2024 utility.
Go ahead and send it in.
Okay.
Send it in, so we could, have it in writing, and it could be clearer for everybody, since some of my colleagues have already left. So Commissioner, we're gonna give you a 30-second close. You come in the middle of the afternoon. Let me ask you a question. When everybody want to go parties in Jan. So you get blind today. But the Olympic Committee isn't here. But we passed, the Olympic Committee is the funds are go directly to them, or you are the pass-through?
No, I'm the pass-through.
You're the pass-through. So we appropriated some funds for the managers of the teams that recently won the gold. Was it a gold?
Yes.
Basketball?
Yes.
Have you all requested the funding from OMB to go to the Olympic Committee so we could pay these managers? Because they've been texting and asking about it.
I had a conversation, and I don't want to lie to you, I had a conversation with Senator Francis, and I am not sure if, at the time he told me it never went through to OMB, and I know they've been calling about those funds. What happened with the previous funds is the Olympic Committee paid it and then was reimbursed by OMB. I don't know if that's what they're going to do again this time, but I have not seen that $5,000 for me to request it from OMB.
It was an appropriation that was passed. Now, I don't know how the legislation was written, but
Yeah,
if
I don't
you
know
had
if they
a
went straight to OMB, if they passed through the department.
they're not going to go straight to OMB. OMB is responsible for releasing the money.
Correct.
So a letter has to be written to OMB, correct, Ms. Peters?
To release the money.
To release the money. So that, if you can please take care of that, because it has to come back through you to go to the Olympic Committee. Okay?
Yes, Senator.
Sports Committee.
Senator Carrion, you recognize for your point of information.
Thank you. Commissioners, with regard to Act 8734, that has to be appropriate in the sum of $350,000 for the building of the steel roof of a state profit basketball court.
That request was sent to Embry.
Oh, sent.
I
Okay.
do know that request was sent.
Okay, because I didn't see it, didn't see anywhere in your testimony today, but very well, thank
It
you.
was sent.
Note saying that that's Department of Tourism. I don't know if the funding was coming from the tourism revolving fund, but in any event, regardless of where it's coming from, the letter still has to be written for the funds to be released. There was a question that I got earlier and I almost forgot. I was asked for you to provide an update on the lighting for the Camparico basketball court.
Yeah, so we have two projects in both districts for lighting, LED lighting. Contractors was already selected, sorry. We are just waiting for the contract to be executed from property and procurement to give a notice to proceed.
All right, so I'm also learning that you have to ask for the request to have those funds released from tourism.
You say that again?
The 500, I think it's $5,000?
Yeah, so that's why I was saying I don't remember seeing it. Maybe the pass-through is the Department of Tourism and not Sports, Parks, and Recreation.
Okay, we're going to look at the legislation.
I just need to see the legislation, correct.
We'll look at it and verify what should happen and we'll get back to you. But it's been a minute, you just need to give them the money.
Mm.
All right, we're going to allow you a 30-second close with regards to your FY25 budget requests.
Thank you for your opportunity for us to come and champion for the Department of Sports, Park, and Recreation. I always make it known that the individuals that you see here at the table with me and the other 120? No, can't be 100. We have 119. 112 additional employees of this department. All of them together is what makes this department what it is. I'm gonna continue trying to champion to get, higher wages, more resources for this department. What they do and the services that they do for this community, I can say that they love doing. This department kind of raised the bar during COVID, and I personally feel since we've gotten back to the normal things that we've kind of forgotten the importance of this department. But we're going to do what we have to do with the resources that we have to continue giving, wonderful programs to the community. But me personally, I want to thank all the employees for the department for the work that they have been doing and the work that they're going to continue doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and thank you to your team for your presentation today, and we will send you the letter with the request, and we will definitely be in touch with you further as we go through and finalize this budget process.
Thank you.
I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the central staff employees, my staff, for the work that was done today to ensure that we were able to finalize these budget hearings. Parks and Recreation should have been here. I think they were supposed to be here last Friday? Last Thursday. They were all dressed alike, I'm sure. But our system wasn't working. We continue to be challenged with, once we have individuals in the St. Croix Chamber community room, we continue to have a problem with that. So it worked out good this afternoon because we didn't have anyone over there, but we did have some challenges earlier. So safe travels, enjoy your festivities, and happy 3rd, and most definitely happy 4th of July. Happy Emancipation. The Committee on Budget Appropriations and Finance for today is hereby adjourned.
La la